Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you so much for coming. I know you have, you know, come all of come all the way here, especially on Saturday, where you could have been spending your time with your loved ones, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, spouse. Going to cinema, playing games, studying for midterms, but you came here. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause to you. Right. So first of all, I would like to say that this is a community-driven event. So I mean, I organized a community back in April. Uh, it was supposed to be a Facebook page. We got around 372 people. And last week, I asked the community. I did a poll with the community. I asked them what are they expecting from this group, from this community, right? And they say that they want to have a Microsoft Cloud Skills Challenge, but we already did that for 2 times within a month, within 2 months, if I'm mistaken. But yeah, next in line, they want a physical event, they want a physical meetup, right? So here we are today. So I want to tell you why we host this event. This event is actually a short notice event, right? So Susan from Microsoft Singapore, she's one of the benefactor for this physical meetup. She told me that Liam, uh, all the way from the UK, will visit Malaysia somewhere this week, and she said that maybe Liam want to meet the community, right? So I was like, okay, never mind. We'll figure things out from there. But coincidentally, Microsoft MVP, Ashish, he's not coming here today because he underwent a surgery. So he told me, saying that, oh, okay, there's a few MVPs wanting to talk in an event. So why not you do an event for your community? So again, we work the magic out. I mean, I work with the magic with Suzanne. I'll try to figure things out. And yeah, we organize this event. But well, thank you so much for coming. Although we don't have much yet, but maybe more will come. And then, okay. So I want to shamelessly plug this, right? So if you want to, get into discussions, get the info about latest Microsoft developments, technologies, feel free to join this group. You can just scan the QR code over here. Let's enrich the community, Microsoft community in Malaysia, right? So let's go to the next slide. Okay, sure. All right. So we will start with me kicking off the event, right? And then we will start with Liam. He will be presenting um, the I don't know what what he's presenting right now, but later he will tell you. Um, Liam is a senior cloud advocate from Microsoft. He came all the way from the UK to meet all of you, right? So he will be sharing a little bit of his knowledge to you guys, right? So we will be followed by Mr. Ming. Mr. Ming is an MVP, a Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals. If you guys don't know what MVP is an expert in their field, right? So feel free to ask them if you have any questions, right? They are expert, and both of the MVP today is a senior MVP. They have been in the program for about 15 plus years. So they're quite good at what they do, right? And both of them, I mean, this is the fun part, both of them are a CTO at their own company, right? So feel free to ask, feel free to learn whatever you can uh, and ask any questions. Be engaging in the event, right? So after Mr. Ming's talk, we will have a 15-minute break, right? And we'll follow by Mr. Walter. He will talk a little bit about Azure AI Studio. And lastly, we will close this event with a lucky draw. We have a few merchandise as well as two mystery gifts. Okay. And after that, we will have a mini lunch. I wouldn't say a lunch, but we will have a mini lunch, courtesy of Susan from Microsoft Singapore, and also networking sessions. I want you guys to also meet each other. I know some of you came as a student, right? And maybe some of you came as an IT professionals. Maybe some of you are in education sector, right? And the IT professional sector. So feel free to talk around with each other and have fun. And I hope you guys can have a good time in here. All right. So that's all from me. I want to pass the baton to Mr. Liam. Um, welcome, Liam.
All right, lovely. So, hello everybody. Thank you for putting on this lovely event today. Yes, I am in Asia. I'm from the UK, and I'm here on a bit of a holiday, a bit of a workation. And I thought it'd be a great time to come and speak to the community and meet you and say hello and talk to you a little bit about what I do at Microsoft. So, I'm a senior cloud advocate and a software engineer, and I work primarily with developer tooling. Now, developer tooling is one of the great things at Microsoft, which we are renowned for worldwide. Some of the things that we do to help developers get better and speed up productivity and help businesses accelerate their innovation and development. So when I say developer tools, I mean things like Copilot. I mean Visual Studio Code, and the CLI toolsets. Me, specifically, I work with the CLI toolsets. So that is the Azure CLI, the Azure Developer CLI, and the GitHub CLI. Show of hands if you've used any of those before. All right, so about 50-50. Who's completely new to Azure or Microsoft tooling? All right, so 1 or 2. That's fine. So when we look at tooling, it is predominantly about getting better and helping the developer have the best experience they can possible. So with that, we're going to be talking about mastering the Azure Developer CLI, which is kind of like a package of all things CLI for your development workflow. I'm going to show you a little bit how we work with them. But first off, let's talk about DevOps. Now, hopefully, if you've sort of been in this space for any longer than a year, you would have seen this. This is completely sort of blown up over the past couple of years with development or DevOps lifecycle. So you have 8 stages. You got plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor. Now we split these into 2 sections. On the left-hand side, you've got development. On the right-hand side, you have operations. Now, when you look at splitting up DevOps, it encompasses a whole bunch of technologies. It's not just one single technology. It's we explain it, because prior to having DevOps, back like pre-2007, we were looking at waterfall workflows. And that is where you'd have dedicated teams at dedicated cycles. And if anything went wrong in that cycle, you'd go right the way back to the beginning again, and it would take 6 months to get the heading title changed on your website, for example. So with DevOps, it's all about iteration, hence the infinity loop, the unofficial logo. And once you go around, you can do it very quickly. One sort of developer should have many hats, and that is planning, be part of the planning stage, be part of the coding, testing, and releasing and monitoring, and so forth. So every developer should have some kind of hand in any one of these stages. So this basically promotes communication and collaboration across both sides, leading to shorter lead times, quicker changes, and lower failure rates. And even if it does fail, well, then it's just fixed even quicker. So when we look at this from a DevOps perspective, we have 2 kinds of engineers that sit within this. You've got the product engineers, people that are obviously developing and working on the product, and then you have the platform engineers. Show of hands if you know what platform engineering is. Oh, lovely, like 1 or 2. So when we talk about platform engineering, it's mostly about your infrastructure and how you're standing up your sort of compute power to deliver what it is that you want to deliver as a business. So you're looking at how you're engineering the different intricacies. You're looking at your different networks, for example, or your different AI models and deployments that you are then deploying into that infrastructure. and then how it all ties together and how you scale. So you sort of reduce config drift and you look at infrastructure as code. So all these different elements go into platform engineering as a business and what you do. That ties nicely into DevOps because behind all of that, you have the DevOps lifecycle. So you can see where you're starting to build up as a business now, all the different layers of your software development lifecycle. And by all means, this touches everything. Now let's just have a little look at this book. This is one of my favorite books, Developer Relations, How to Build and Grow a Successful Developer Program. Now, when I was building this talk, I'd say a while ago, because this has been through a few iterations, when I was reading this book, it really stood out to me because when you think about DevOps and you think about the different processes that you have to go through and all the problems that you've been trying to solve as a business over the past sort of decade or so, you're looking at the different sides of it. So is it easier today or is it harder today? And this is where developer tooling really shines because you can pick out what was really easy and what is really hard. So lower barrier to entry with free tools and free trials. But then on the flip side, you have more programming languages. And with more programming languages comes more learning. And usually more often than not, they are just a wrapper around another language. So, I mean, we are guilty of this. If you look at infrastructure as code, who's used ARM templates before? Who knows what an ARM template is? Cool. Who knows what bicep is? Cool. So we thought that ARM templates were great and they're very powerful and wonderful. And it's all about standing up your infrastructure in Azure, so Azure Resource Management. We thought it'd be great to create another language to wrap around ARM templates to make it easier for you as a developer to then start coding with it. So we created Bicep, which is the main specific language, which I'm going to show you a bit more about today. You can already see that we've got 2 layers of abstraction, 2 layers of difficulties, and now you've got 2 different understandings, all to make it easier with free tools and lower barrier to entries. So you can kind of see where we're going with this. It's just like piling on top of each other what we're doing. But that's a really good example of developer tooling to make it easier for you, but then it also makes it harder in other aspects. And this is where we can look at the, I don't know, the different tools for the jobs. Who's seen like a slide with all these different developer tools that just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing? You've got like, I don't know, JFrog for Artifactory, you've got Quay, you've got all these different repositories for your containers that all do the same job with maybe like a slight small deviation. So it makes it really easy for you, but then it also makes it really complex because then you've got to worry about the different pricing tiers. You have to worry about who has your data. Is it safe? Where's it stored? And more often than not, it's good, but you have to take that into consideration with your business and the kind of compatibility it has with all your other services. So I really like this because this flows nicely into AZD and some of the problems that AZD actually helps to solve. And by the way, AZD actually stands for Azure Developer CLI. Sorry, I forgot to say that earlier. But essentially, AZD helps alleviate a whole bunch of your problems here. And we're going to get into that. But I kind of explained what platform engineering is, but there is a purpose behind it. And it's typically just to improve your experience as a developer. And the way that they do that is by creating a frictionless, self-driven experience. Now, this is where tools are really starting to explode in the platform engineering side because you're looking at automation, you're looking at plugging the knowledge gaps that you might have, and helping you understand the different areas of tooling, which you probably wouldn't touch unless you're using certain tools. And AZD is a really good example of this because AZD goes into a lot of different areas of your project, which as a developer, I might not touch sometimes, or not often enough to know enough about it. So it helps plug in these knowledge gaps. So when we're looking at platform engineering, it is typically around that aspect. Now, let's look at your typical application and what your application sometimes looks like. So you have a front end, you have a back end, and a database. This is very, very basic. And not every application is like this, but more often than not, this is a basic 3-tier application. You're running that locally on your laptop. All is good, all works well. Until you want to get it into the cloud. Who has had a problem or who's faced issues getting your local application, your hello world, into the cloud before? And maybe it's got a bit too tricky. Somebody must have, right? So, I mean, I certainly have. I've sort of created Node and React applications and really struggled to get them into the cloud sometimes because I don't understand how they package it up and how to deploy it properly. We have all these different cloud service providers, and it's never straightforward. It's never as easy as the lift and shift that we all say it is. Hey, take your application, grab it, package it, and dump it into the cloud and run it, and you're good. It's never quite that simple, and it's also never quite that cheap. So there's something that you have to bear in mind with all these different factors, that when you're moving to the cloud or when you are deploying your applications to the cloud, it can become really, really difficult. And there's hurdles, especially if you're new. If you're a student, I really feel for you because there's so many different ways that you can deploy your applications now that makes it really difficult for you to actually choose which way to go, which way is the right way. Are you embedding technical debt or not? So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and it can be really, really difficult and quite cumbersome. But this is where AZD comes in, and this is where it helps you a lot. So AZD is this wonderful CLI tool which you can give your application to, and you can iterate, say AZD init, for example, and it will go ahead, it will detect the language that your application is using, and it will then create some infrastructure for you, modify your local repository, and make it cloud native ready. So it makes it, purposely makes it good and able to deploy to Azure with as little hurdles as possible. And I'm going to show you how simple that is in a minute. So AZD is good in a number of ways you can use it. If you're building a startup. So I work very closely with Microsoft for startups in the UK. And more often than not, I speak to people at events and they say, oh, I really, really struggle to get my application to cloud. I am not technical. Maybe I'm just a business person. I don't know the ins and outs. But you made it really, really obvious online that anyone can deploy to the cloud. Anybody can do this, and it's really easy. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place now because we've said it's easy. Now we need to deliver on that. And AZD is a really good way to help startups get from nothing to something in a deliverable way with just a little bit of code. Team onboarding. Now, this is a fun one because I have a good story about this. When I started as a developer, I came into a team where I didn't really know the language very well. It was Node, JavaScript. I was just used to using like Visual Basic and some of the old languages that we were doing in Java at university. And when I joined my team, they were like, oh, it's going to take you quite a while to get up to speed. It might take you like 3 or 4 days to really install and get everything up and running. Oh, yeah, no worries. I'll do it in a day. It didn't take me a day. It took me a week. And when you look at that, that is a week's worth of development time, which was wasted. I didn't learn anything. I didn't contribute anything. I was just a weight at the bottom of that chain. So team onboarding with automation tools, especially using infrastructure as code to get these platforms up and ready for you, they could have given me a repository, this command, go. I would have been up in a day. I would have had everything done. That is then another 4 days to learn and contribute to the team. So team onboarding is a very powerful tool for this one because it also allows you to use disposable environments, which we'll get into in a minute. But the second half of this is environment separations. So if you're working in a test environment, you then have to come out of your test environment to then deploy into your production environment or your pre-prod environment. So you've got different environments that are going on. It can be really difficult to manage them. With AZD, it actually makes it really easy for you to manage them because you can do an AZD up on a repository, which will be specifically for your development environment, and you can do it then on your production environment. So you can have separations within your development lifecycle, which, the more automation, the more easy separation you have, the better, happier life you are as a developer. And then, of course, students, university classes. Now, I've spoken to lecturers across the UK who have relished these kind of toolings because it makes their lectures so much more appealing and it helps them with the students. If you are a lecturer, I guess the bane of your life is to come in, have to write all this documentation for your students, for them to take an entire lecture just to set it up. That's a bit annoying and a bit of waste of time, not just for the lecturers, but also for the students, because they don't learn anything at that point. So with AZD and the kind of developer tooling that we're providing here, really does allow them to get up to speed with one single command. And now I've got two different personas. We have Harry and Hermione. Now, I can't really read this very well on my screen. So Harry is proficient in .NET, JavaScript, able to write an application end-to-end, front-end, back-end, and testing. Great. Harry is a full-stack developer. Hermione, on the other hand, is proficient in JavaScript, Python, able to write an application end-to-end, front-end, back-end, testing. So she is also a full-stack developer. That doesn't really mean much at this point because, yeah, you can write code, but how do you deploy it? Now, Harry has seen bicep code, so he knows what infrastructure as code is, but he doesn't really learn it. He hasn't really had the time to take out and learn it. Hermione, on the other hand, does not know bicep or Terraform, and does not have the time or desire to learn it either. Now we have a problem. We've got two full stack developers which are able to write code, but can't write code to deploy that code. So now you're relying on a DevOps engineer. Not good. Harry is somewhat familiar with Azure services, so he can kind of know what to do, put them together, tally them up, and connect them. Hermione doesn't know any Azure at all, any Azure services. Harry works at Contoso. Who knows what Contoso is? This is like the brilliant, famous Microsoft make-believe company. Hermione doesn't. She works at a startup. Now you can start to see this separation between these two personas, two developers. Now what's good about this is where AZD can really fit in and help these. So AZD can plug in and help Harry learn bicep, automate and speed up his infrastructure to Azure. That's one side of it. The other side of it is Hermione. Now AZD can also plug in the gaps for Hermione. It can help her understand Azure services. It can help her plug in these gaps. And this is where you have AZD in it and the very beginnings of AZD or the Azure Developer CLI, because it will really help you get up to speed and you don't have to worry about creating these bicep files from scratch. It can just do it for you. So those are two kind of personas that we're working with. And this is more often than not the typical persona of developers, which I speak to day in, day out. Now, they don't seem miles apart, but I also speak to people on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum, which can be really difficult at times. And then helping them to introduce these kind of toolings can really help speed up what they're doing. So how do you install AZD? What is it? So on Windows, you've got winget install Microsoft.azd, or you can use, I think it's Choco install AZD. So these are available on Windows, Linux, and Mac. So with Mac, which I'm using, you can use my favorite brew tap command and brew install. So it's there. And Linux, you can just use curl. It is available for all three distributions. Really, really good fun. Now, here's some of the core commands. What AZD team have done, and you probably noticed this with a lot of CLIs, there's a ton of flags and a ton of intricacies that you have to plop on to the end and be like, I don't know, if you want an Azure resource, you do like AZ resource group, give it a name, give it a location, give it blah, 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 like tons and tons of arguments in a CLI. Now, the purpose of AZD is we made it super, super developer friendly, meaning that you don't need to know all of these commands and all of the flags and have to do -H just to get the help, just to see what you can put in there. It is very, very developer focused and very sort of straightforward. AZD init, you want to initialize your project. AZD up, which encapsulates three other commands, package, provision, and deploy. And those are the two that we're going to be really working with today. In fact, we're not even going to use init, we're going to use up and auth. Authentication is like a wrapper around the Azure login. So super safe, enterprise grade login. AZD pipeline config, it is a wrapper, somewhat of a wrapper around the GitHub CLI. And this is going to generate a GitHub workflow or GitHub action workflow for you, create that CI/CD project or that GitHub action, and give you access to deploy your infrastructure through a pipeline, which I think is really awesome because although you can develop code, people don't necessarily know how to write workflows for continuous integration, continuous deployment. GitHub Actions changed that whole game, made it super easy for us. And now we've gone a step further, and now you can do it with one command in the terminal, which is awesome. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of trickery and a little bit of fudging around just to play with it and make sure it fits your application. But on the whole, delivering that and creating that pipeline for you does the bulk of it for you. You've got AZD Monitor, which, more often than not with the templates in AZD, it will give you a dashboard. So if you've used any sort of projects where you want to look at the monitoring for your throughput, your pings, anything to do with your application, you can see that from your Azure dashboard. But you can also look at the logs as well. So you can grab the logs directly from the CLI. And then we've got Infra Synth, which is where you can go like full hands-on, get into your bicep code, and really, really get deep into it. So those are some of the core commands for AZD. And this is why it's so fun, because that is essentially the CLI set in one slide, which I love. Now, it is an ecosystem. It's not just a CLI. There is an extension. So if you are running this in VS Code or Visual Studio, you can install the extension from the marketplace, which is this one. It's the same as the CLI. It just allows you a little bit more user-friendly in terms of going through the IE instead of your terminal. Bicep extension. So you can use this you need it as like your CLI wrapper for Bicep. You also need it to sort of write the Bicep code. So when you are compiling Bicep, you do need CLI. The AZD sort of handles that all for you. Now, what you can do in lieu of that is you can actually install all of the Azure tool sets, which is like an Azure Tools CLI plugin, which works totally cool and it's perfect. And then we have the templates. Now, who's seen AZD templates? Has anybody actually seen any of the templates that we've written? So these are ready-made to go AZD deployable templates with all the Bicep code, all of the application code, and they are authored both from us at Microsoft developers and the community. But the community have had it vetted by people at Microsoft so that it conforms with all our security standards and everything that we need it to do to be publishable. So you can get hands-on, you can submit your templates. So if you have a cool, React template that uses some cool MongoDB wrapper in Cosmos DB or whatever, you can actually submit this and have other people. So it boosts your open source contributions. So if you're interested, then come speak to me afterwards. But yeah, there's so many on there already. People have contributed from all around the globe. And here at Microsoft, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to start deploying your AI applications, because that's a cool thing right now. And I'm going to show you that one today. So now we have some extra developer tools. So like I said, I work in the developer tools team. I focus on CLI, but there are some other cool things we're going to use today. First of them being Codespaces. Who has used a Codespace before? No, nobody. Okay. Does anyone know what a Codespace is? I see like one or two nods. Okay. So a Codespace is essentially a cloud-hosted environment for you to do all your development in, where you don't need a powerful PC. You can do all of this on a Raspberry Pi if you so wish. But essentially, it is a virtual machine which is hosted in Azure. Well, it's a container that's sat on a virtual machine hosting Azure, as you can see from here. And you've got some ephemeral storage, so it's disposable. You can just throw it away once you're done with it. You have CPU power, so you can choose how powerful you want this machine to be or this container to be. And so if you're like running a really hardcore application, which is very, very CPU heavy, get like the boosted up one. And if you're doing a Hello World application, probably go for the basic one. But you can access this from right within the GitHub repository. So if you have a repo, you'll see this lovely little green button over here. And all you have to do is click a button that says create a Codespace on main. So it's a pretty bad picture, but there is a one that says that. You get given a lovely name. So Fantastic Space Train, which is, you get some funky names. It's just random. But you basically go into this and you'll see what I'm going to do in a second. This is what it looks like. So you would be absolutely correct if you said it looks identical to Visual Studio, because it is. There's only one big telltale down in the bottom left-hand corner that says Codespaces down here. And that essentially is in your browser. So you have a full machine in your browser. Okay, so you will be able to run anything from virtual environments in Python to full JavaScript applications. And I'm going to show you today how I use AZD to deploy an AI application. Over here, you've got the sort of the marketplace and all the plugins. So obviously, not all plugins are going to work in a browser, but the majority are now compatible with code spaces and dev containers. Now, a dev container is a Docker container that is specifically for and configured to provide a fully featured development environment. Now, a dev container is a little bit different, same, but different, but it actually allows you to run this locally through Docker on your local machine, just using a pre-configured file. So same, but different. So if you don't want to run it in your browser, you can still run it locally, just within Docker, same, it's just a container, and then you can sort of remove it and sort of delete it, blast it away. If you make some mistakes, then you can start again. So super easy way to develop. I use this daily. Some people at Microsoft use DevBox. I'm not sure if you've heard about DevBox, but some of us use DevBox, some of us use code spaces. I'm more of a lightweight code spaces kind of developer. I don't need anything too hardcore. But yeah, it's really, really fun way to develop. It just means that you don't have to install everything locally. It means that you can just have it all in a JSON file, which is in your dev container /dev container.json. Again, I'm going to go through this in a minute while we're waiting for our application to spin up. So with that in mind, I'm going to head over to a demo. I'm just going to kick something off in my browser because this is going to take a minute to hopefully, here we go. Let me just quickly do an AZD auth login. This will make sense in a minute. I just need to make sure that we are logged in and kicking this off because this can take like 15 minutes to deploy. But I am working directly in a code space here, just FYI. This is complete. Oh, my screen is not sharing on the live stream, but that's fine. Don't need to see it just yet. Oh, of course, it's going to make me do this. All right, bear with people. My thing's not sharing on there or on here, but it's still the same. Oh, I'll tell you what I need to do. I'll do. Sorted it. It's all right, 2FA everyone. It's all good fun. So I'm just doing this quickly because otherwise we're going to be stood with a lot of dead silence for about 15 minutes, and we don't want that to happen. Here we go. Cool. So I'm actually in a dev container, and I'm just going to do AZD up, and I'm going to do, I don't know, Malaysia demo. Cool. So hopefully we're just going to let that spin off in the background, and it should just do its thing. If it needs me to poke anything, then that's fine. We'll come back. But let's have a little look at the template library. So this is Awesome AZD. Now, Awesome AZD is got a whole bunch of templates. Now we don't need functions. Let's do back here. So you can see here, we've got 114 templates. Now these are all completely ready for you to grab and take away and run with. This one here by Frank. Hello, Frank, if you're watching this. So Frank is one of my colleagues. He's created a .NET AI sample with Azure OpenAI. So you've probably seen like all of this stuff from Microsoft come out about AI, talking about, you know, Copilot this, AI this, Open API that, blah, blah, blah. There's so much going on around us as developers. It's really, really hard to keep up and keep in context and understand what's happening, right? Now, I know you all agree with me because I speak to you, there's not someone I haven't spoken to where they don't feel a little bit, at least overwhelmed a little. But with AZD, we have this lovely template library called Awesome AZD. And like I said, I mentioned it earlier, but this is the community-driven initiative with Microsoft's sort of careful eye on what we're doing in terms of security and in terms of what can be deployed, how, where, and when. So you have Azure AI Starter. We've got Azure API Management with Azure OpenAI, which is a really big and interesting one, actually, because API management, when you're looking at these bigger infrastructures and your bigger applications, you've got hundreds of APIs. Who's used API management before? Cool, couple of nods. So it basically allows you to control the ins and outs and monitor everything that you're sort of working with your application with APIs. Now, when you're looking at AI APIs, well, there's just like a little bit more added complexity when you're looking at what's coming in, what's going out, and how you're tracking your application from an API perspective. So if you have something like a template, which is all ready to up and go, then it makes it even easier for you. And I'm just a little bit cautious of this one because I knew it would have done this one. There we go. So with the, throw in East US. There we go. Right, that's off now. So as you can see, we'll dig deeper into one of these in a minute, and I'm just going to take you through the application which we're going to deploy, which I'm currently deploying as we speak. But as you can see, there's lots of AI stuff going on. There's lots of LangChain. There's lots of everything which a developer might feel a little bit overwhelmed with. Now, if you're me and you are solely in developer tooling, AI has been at the forefront of Microsoft, and it's something which I've had to learn very quickly and get to grips with and get up to speed with super fast. This has been my bedrock. This has been my cornerstone to go to, and how I've really been getting into AI applications, building them, and looking at sort of what to do with them, how to play them, what to make. So let's dig into this one. Now, if I want to look at AI, let's just go into, I don't know, we got services. Let's go and find functions because I like functions. I love serverless functions. So Azure functions. And here you can see a couple of them. And let's just search for, I don't know, LangChain. Cool. So we got this serverless GPT with RAG using LangChain. So RAG, retrieval, something, generation. I can't remember what that stands for. Always slips my mind, RAG. But if you click on it, then you end up with this lovely little sidebar, which tells you how to get started with AZD straight away. Now, the caveat is you need Docker on your local machine, and you need the AZD CLI toolsets, or the Azure function, or the Azure toolsets, basically. But there's only two things you really need to do to get here. So AZD init -t, if you haven't actually already got something, or you haven't got a repository in your local machine, then you can just pop in this serverless chat LangChain.js, and you'll get to this application. It'll pull it down for you onto your local machine, and it will sort of create that AZD-ified repository on your machine, and then you just do AZD up. Alternatively, if you're using the Visual Studio or the Visual Studio Code plugin, then you just use you pop this into your command terminal. So you just put serverless chat LangChain.js. Super easy. Like, no one can really go wrong with that one. And I think as part of the developer tooling goes and developer experience, this absolutely rocks. Absolutely rocks here. It stays straight down here, the services that we're going to be using. So Azure AI Service, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Functions, Azure OpenAI Service, and Azure Static Web Apps. All of these are actually really quite complicated to use if you're standing them up one by one on their own. They're not easy to tie together either, which actually makes it quite difficult as a developer to get all the way through to the end to have a deployable application. I would probably stop at maybe Azure OpenAI Service. Maybe I might get stuck with Azure Cosmos DB. You know, I find these applications somewhat hard as a developer to really set up and use if I'm not using them day to day and really know the ins and outs of them, which makes AZD all that more appealing for me. So as you can see, this is Microsoft authored, and the other one which I showed earlier was a community authored one, but it had gone through vetting and obviously a vigorous process through Microsoft to be able to be on this this website. So let's go and actually have a look at this one. We can open this up in GitHub, which I already have, so you can click it over here, view in GitHub. This is done by Gloria, again, wonderful colleague of mine, and Johan, again, another amazing colleague of mine. So if we open it up, we will get to this sort of GitHub repository. Now, as you can see, I've already got my code space running, which is a wonderful name. I love that fantastic trout. You get some funny stuff. But as you can see in here, this is the repository itself. Now we can dig deeper in this with, actually we're doing it in GitHub, it's a little bit easier to read. So what is this really doing? So this is just a chatbot with Contoso, our lovely make-believe company that we use on Microsoft, and we're using AI as like a virtual chat assistant. So this is what this application is going to deploy, hopefully, fingers crossed. And here's an overview of the infrastructure that it's going to deploy. Show of hands if you think you can honestly deploy this by yourself, one by one, and tie it together in the portal. No, me neither. I honestly couldn't. I sometimes struggle to get past some of the function stuff. So I'm a Go developer, FYI, not a Python or JavaScript or any of that. So I write a lot of Go code. Support for Go is not that great in some places. Serverless functions, we have them. So there is a serverless wrapper for Go. So if you like Golang, but I get tripped up with serverless functions if I don't use Go, because I'm so used to using it with Go that I find it hard to use it with JavaScript, Java, or Python, some of the other languages. So I get tripped up in certain places here. Now, this actually is pretty complex. This is a pretty cool application. And if you are a business wanting to get up to speed with this, you would probably pay somebody a lot of money as a developer to do this. And you probably pay them, I don't know, as a developer, you sort of 2x everything which you seem to want to write. So if it's really going to take you 2 weeks, you say 4 weeks. Therefore, for a business, it's going to cost you 4 weeks to pay for a developer. Not fun, very expensive. Now, although there's a lot of legwork to be done here, it's actually within the code. Now, if you are comfortable with writing infrastructure as code, certainly worth a look at this. If you're not, certainly worth a look and to learn. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump in here and just scream if you can't see it. Hopefully you can see that okay. Is that all good for you? All right, cool. So what AZD is actually using is a couple of these folders on the left-hand side. You have your Azure, which is the environment. So you've got your config JSON. Doesn't really show much in here at the moment. And you have your other one, which is basically showing your default environment name. You've then got the dev container, which I said we'd have a look at as well. So the dev container is everything that we're actually working in right now. And this is a JSON file depicting what this should have installed and what it shouldn't from the get-go. So when you click that lovely green button, it just does a little build. It says, blah, 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 we're building, and it sets up your code space for you. You can set up your extensions. So you've got your Azure tools. We've got the VS Code Bicep tools. So as you can see, they're both from the same Azure tools sort of extension. So you just really need the one. We've got the Prettier for VS Code. We've got some clients, and we've got a lint plugin as well. So all in all, not that complicated to create a dev container. Anyone can do this. It's actually really easy. I shouldn't, but I do. I just copy and paste a lot of it. And you've got your port forwarding as well. So when you go to create your application, now in a different demo that I do, I can show you how you can go from your lovely remote environment to a public demo in seconds just by using a forward port. That's not for today. I can show you, or I can point you to a video where I've done that before. Really, really awesome environments. Back to AZD. We have got the infra folder, which is probably the most important part here. Now, infra, short for infrastructure, actually runs through all of the lovely different parts. So we've got security, we've got search, we've got host, AI, we've got a whole bunch of different infrastructure files going on. So if we just look at the AI one, for example, that really doesn't look very pretty. The extension might not be loading properly, but this is Bicep. Now we've got our parameters at the top. There we go, that just took a minute to load. We have our parameters at the top. We have got, we're setting up the resource here. So we've got the account, so the cognitive service. We give it a name, location, tag, everything that you would typically do in Azure, in the portal, but within JSON code, effectively. It's Bicep code, not JSON. And this is where you set it all up. Now, as a developer, this doesn't seem too far-stretched, that this is no different to what you typically be doing with key value pairs anyway in JSON. So it's really not that difficult. So if you were to then say to someone, hey, go and set this up in the portal, well, now you've got a ton of click ops. Now you've got to go through and click this. Do I need this SKU? Do I need that SKU? If you just run off like a base sheet and with all your different environment variables and parameters that you're working with, this can become quite a simple and streamlined and efficient way to deploy applications. Now, this is just one of them. You obviously have your main Bicep over here, which pulls them all in. So Bicep can run in a modular method or a modular way. And this is where you can sort of write your different modules, just like you'd write classes or sort of functions and pull them into a different main file. Exactly the same methods that are being applied here to Bicep. And this is where you can sort of plug in, the countries or the places where which sort of your services would be allowed. So for example, if you were to deploy this application and you chose a different location, I don't know, maybe a region somewhere in Africa or somewhere that's, you know, one of the smaller data centers that doesn't host as much, then the AI service might not be available. Therefore, it needs to know that before it provisions it and tries to spin something up in a location that doesn't exist, right? So you're looking at different sort of parameters here. And this is typically what Bicep is. It's really not too difficult, and it's really not that strenuous when it comes to coding Bicep. I really like it. I got to grips with this purely because I just love infrastructure. I love DevOps, and I really hate ClickOps. So I don't like pointing around in a portal. So that is one of the main files here that AZD uses. You also got your that's actually it. I think that's it. So AZD doesn't really use much else. It is just that. It piggybacks off the back of infrastructure code, and then it will use it, package it, and then deploy it. Now, as we can see here, going on in the very bottom lovely terminal, we haven't really done much. Now, I whizzed through this quite quickly because, as you can see, it's taking some time. But all I did in this terminal, and as you can see, this is a fully fledged development environment that I'm working in. I did AZD auth login. I then did AZD up. And hey, that was it. Everything else is dealt with within the code base. So a super cool way to get up and running, right? And all I then had to choose was a name, so environment name. If it's completely different to the one that I'm working in, so I could have called this XYZ or ABC or whatever, and it would have spun up a resource group in Azure for exactly that one. I then selected a location and a subscription. And the subscription, I'm just using my work one, and the location I'm using East US 2 because I know that that one works with all of these services. Now, that is something to sort of think about when you're deploying your infrastructure. You need to make sure that everything is available in the location that you're choosing. I don't believe there's a way to split those up just yet. So you want to find one where all the resources are available in that location. Of course, you can do that if you want to go through the portal and then try and tie it in. I probably wouldn't. You get it's too difficult. And here we go. Cool. So we can see at the bottom, after it did its lovely deployment and packaging, what have we got? So we've got a resource group that is called RG, resource group, Malaysia demo. We have then got a static web app, which we're just calling web app. We've got an app service plan. Obviously, if we're going to be running app service, we need a plan. Then we've got the Azure OpenAI service. We've got a storage account, a search service, and a function app. It has spun all of that up for me, and it's starting to deploy it. Now, this actually might take a few minutes more, but that's okay. We can just sort of talk a little bit about whatever else we've got on here. So let's actually have a look in Azure. So this is my Azure account, and straight from that code space environment, we can look at the resource groups, and we can go in here. We can see that it's already created everything we need it to. Now, it's starting to deploy all the applications and all of the resources. So it's actually happening side by side. You can see everything happening as we go. Yeah, I think for this one, we're just gonna have to wait for this one to deploy. By the way, do you have any questions so far? I've spoken a lot and been through a lot. Any questions anywhere? Go on. You're in the middle.
On the website.
Oh, sorry, we give you a microphone.
Hello. Morning. Very interesting so far. More of a question from the dev side, because you mentioned a few times about technical debt.
Yep.
Is there any tools that we can use to review our technical debt?
So technical debt can come in many forms. When you talk about technical debt, what do you mean exactly when you want to review it? I'm going to back the question back.
All right. Came here with one particular objective, to be honest, because I am having a review on the level of coding that my team is doing. So there is a report that is generated by this particular tool that this is actually for third-party software. So the tool actually generates a report indicating the level of technical coding in terms of architecture, in terms of performance, security. So I was wondering whether if I look at from a Microsoft perspective, from Azure, Is there any particular tool that we can use to achieve this as well?
So when you want to look at your infrastructure and you're looking at the technical debt that you have inside that infrastructure, it is a really, really good time to reflect as a development team as opposed to what you've currently deployed. So when working with teams previously, we've always done, so as you probably do sprints, you probably work in agile methodologies. Oh, I just accidentally cut that off. At the end of that sprint, we always do a retrospective. Now that retrospective wasn't just about the personal sort of contributions that we've made to the team, what we did better, what we could do next time, blah, blah, blah. We actually took it a step further and always looked into what is currently working well in the application. Have I got any bottlenecks? And if so, how you find them, and you go through monitoring. So the tool which I personally use is the Azure monitoring tool. So like the monitoring dashboard, which I don't think we're going to get in this one, but I can certainly show you. And that pretty much tells you where you're going wrong in your application. It is such a huge overview and sort of an overhaul of your application that I've used, and I've used it to spot bottlenecks and spot really nasty bugs and memory leaks in my applications. Obviously, as I'm a Go developer, the one thing which I hate is Go routines and Go routines that leak. So for anybody who doesn't know what a Go routine is, it's basically a way that Go works asynchronously. And you can create memory leaks. Now, back to your point in terms of technical debt, when you're building in these applications that have stringing or lots of strings attached to them that create lots of bigger problems, then I look at the monitoring tooling within Azure. So there isn't typically one tool that you can go to and say that's going to fix all my problems, because it's not. But it's actually working with your team and being like, right, so you've implemented this part of the code base. Was your code efficient? Did it run? Did it work? And you isolate different parts of that code base to work, and you monitor different parts of that code base. That's personally what I've done. I don't know what the developers are really doing at this point. There's so many different ways you can go. So when you talk about technical debt, it can be anything from a bad decision made early on to something which somebody wants to rewrite the whole code base, right, in a different language, because we've all been there before. Oh, this looks good, but it'd be so much better if it's in Python. We always get that. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can talk about technical debt, but monitoring, breaking up, isolation, and using tools exactly like this to speed up that entire dev environment for you is actually super important. So as I said earlier, you can do sort of different environment sort of segregations, right? So you can use a dev environment, you can just spin this up to create a complete test environment for yourself and be like, does this work better than our production? And you can just load test it and bombard it with everything to see if it handles it. Okay, so you can just do some chaos testing or whatever you want to do, right? So yeah, that's like a long-winded answer to that question. But yeah, essentially monitoring. And since we haven't, I'm gonna go on one more question.
So when you want to deploy a solution to Azure, a solution consists of the infrastructure component plus the various applications that you want to deploy on top of that infrastructure. So is it safe to say that you kick off an AZD process to deploy the infrastructure components, and for each application that sits on top of that infrastructure, you have a separate AZD process?
All in one. It's all in one. So inside this repository here, we actually have all of the code as well. So we can look at where it's gone, the packages. So you can look at all the different packages, all the different code, everything that goes on inside here as well. So we're using JavaScript, TypeScript with LangChain for this one. I'm not personally comfortable with LangChain or TypeScript. This is why I wanted to show you today, because I'm not personally confident or comfortable with any of these resources 100%. But to show you that anyone can get started with this one, I thought I'd stand up and do this in front of you all today. And as you can see, it has deployed. So in answer to your question, no, you don't do it all separately. It's all within one. So you have your applications, you have your infrastructure. It would be here, for example. So yeah, I mean, different. So say you got your front end, your back end in your database. It would typically be within one. So you'd have a server, you'd have your front end, and then obviously your connectors, which would be in your database, so your SQL strings or connection strings or whatever you want to use. If you're using that, or MongoDB, etc. Yeah, it'll be within one. So you just segregate them within your repository, like so here.
And you can deploy this to all the different environments: dev, test, production. And it's all configurable, obviously.
Yep, you split it up. You decide how you do that one. So you can have as many as you like. You can just make as many copies of that as you like, and you can deploy them as many times as you like. So that's where I have the deployment name. I can move that into a different deployment name, a different location, and I can have it running in Azure in a different resource group called dev or test or whatever. And then you have your production one, which nobody touches, and it's only gone once all green ticks are there. So yeah, it's completely just one pipeline.
Okay, just another quick question. Microsoft Build just ended yesterday.
Yep.
Are there any specific announcements that you're excited about that could or could not relate to developer tooling?
Yeah, 100%. Copilot. I think Copilot everywhere is one of the bigger parts of Microsoft at the moment. So I think Copilot plus PC was probably one of my favorable ones. As you can see, I'm using a Mac here. I think it may be enough to sway me to a Windows machine one day. But using that for everyday developers, yeah, 100%. I also really, really like the Copilot plugins. So the extensions, which you may or may not have seen. For me, that is a super game changer because ChatGPT and Copilot has always been there about good, but it's always been like playing with fire when you're doing it live on stage in a demo. So I did this at a conference, the Microsoft AI Tour, and everything just went completely wrong from like the get-go with Copilot. Now, with Copilot extensions, having that more defined and sort of trained on models to be able to give you a little bit more information, if you're using Docker, for example, so you do like an app Docker and explain how to do some Docker commands, it's like trained on that specific information. So it's not going to give you a generalistic answer. It'll hopefully give you a lot more specific answer now. So I'm super excited for that one because I use Copilot every day. It's been hard to, I think I've used it ever since the beta came out, where I think even before I was at Microsoft. So that was before I was at Microsoft. I was using it and I've always found it really, really helpful, especially with Docker. So I don't know who here has struggled with Docker containers before, like setting them up, building them, that kind of stuff. I always get the flags and everything mixed up. I always miss the dot at the end. But using that kind of thing in Copilot chat, super, super good. That's one of the things I'm most sort of happy about.
Just another question. You mentioned dev containers and dev boxes. So when did you use one over the other?
Great question. Love that one. So dev containers, lightweight example. I'm spinning this up for a demo today. It's ephemeral, can just get rid of it if and when as I need. So if everything goes completely to pot, I can just be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to delete you. I'm going to start again, like I did just before getting up here because it didn't load properly for me. So completely remove it and start again. Dev box is more enterprise focused. So if you are in a enterprise company, let's just say Contoso, for example, or Microsoft, and you want a team to get up to speed and be like, hey, we have a new developer, here's your dev environment, just log in, here's your credentials, go. Nothing needs doing, right? You've also got your security, it's completely cut off from the outside world. It's completely up to you how you then manage that dev box. So some people in my team actually use dev box as a primary dev environment. So instead of using their MacBook or something, as we're always on the road, we're always traveling, sometimes for work, sometimes personal, then it is going to be an easy way just to SSH or sort of RDP into a dev box, for example. So just using a remote desktop client, it's available for you. And it's just like another PC, it's a virtual machine, right? But that's what you'd use as a company, or I would see it more used as a company and team sharing.
Yeah, so the dev box is basically a virtual machine that's already been set up. It has all the various developer tooling, Visual VS Code, etc., all set up.
It is completely configurable, up to you. So your company can then give you an image as a developer and be like, hey, this has already got Visual Studio, it's already got Git installed, it's already got XYZ, it's already there for you, go. Or it can be a complete blank image, say, here you go and install it yourself. So it's completely up to you as an enterprise or a team manager, or IT manager, what do you want to call them, IT admin, that would want to give you that. Completely up to you, and runs within your company guide rails as opposed to being predefined like VS Code. All right.
Thank you.
Cool. As you can see, this has actually deployed. So I'm going to take no more questions till the end. But if we log in here, we can see we've got deployed the service API and we've got the deployed service web app. Let's go and click on this one and let's just open this Azure up. Hey presto, we have got an application which had nothing running. It's actually running on a domain name, which is my app service domain name, static apps. And we can say, how do I search and book rentals? Because, hey, we're working at Contoso, and we're going to see if it's going to give me anything in return. Now, yesterday it worked. I hope today it still does work. But nonetheless, it deployed all okay, and everything worked smoothly. It might take a minute because it's the first request. But this is essentially using Azure AI, OpenAI services And as you saw, it deployed everything. I would not have been able to do this by myself. Absolutely no way would I have been able to deploy this. Yay, we have stuff. Now, I'm not going to click on info one text because I know that doesn't actually work. I haven't provided it with a PDF. If you notice, I have the eagle eye. There is a PDF for information that you could feed it and get extra information training on. I believe that's how that's working. You can ask follow-up questions. This is like a complete chatbot, which an enterprise or a company would have on their website, or like an FAQs. Like I said, building this, how long does this take me? Like an hour to do the presentation and deploy it. I think it'll actually tell me how long it took to deploy all of this. There we go, 14 minutes and 20 seconds. So you could give this to somebody who doesn't know LangChain, who doesn't know any of the language, who doesn't really know the infrastructure that well, and be like, go have fun, play, create as a foundation, and use this as a baseline. Just go and create cool applications, basically. So yeah, this is a super, super fun way to get up to speed with AI. And I'm going to go ahead and slowly start creating more chatbots and AI services like this one. But let me just quickly go back into my slides because that's the demo done. Hey presto. Oh yeah, that was there we go. That was the infrastructure that we used. As you saw, the PDF at the bottom right is the actual thing that you can plug into it. Resources. If you want to see anything which I've played with today, if you want to take note of anything or contact me, scan this QR code. All the resources are going to be on this post up there. So anything AZD, anything to do with the AI templates and the repository I used today, which would be pretty handy. So if you want to go ahead and go play with that one, all you need to do is take it away. One thing to mention is it does cost money. So when you're using these services, please bear in mind, it's not always free. And sometimes the templates don't always adhere to the free tier, purely because of the location services. Some templates use, I think, 2 of the same service in the same location. On a free tier, you can't do that. Some of them do adhere to a free tier, so just be really mindful of that one. If you want to use this example, though, this chatbot, you can actually use this locally completely for free using, I think it's Olama model, which is Mistral. And you just do that locally, and you can run this completely for free on your own machine. And there is setup guides on the repository on how to do that one. Videos, if you're interested in AZD, like you want some short, snappy information around how we do it, what we do, here is some lovely videos that open at Microsoft, so aka.ms/open at Microsoft. And this will give you sort of 10-minute videos around AZD. And this is where I talk to the project managers, some of the product leads, and an engineer around AZD, you know, the guts and the glory, what it is, where it came from, and why, essentially, and sort of what plug it's filling, or what hole it's plugging, rather, is the better way to put it. And with that one, I say thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you had fun and you enjoyed the AZD CLI. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm taking some more of them now. Silence. Oh, we have one. No, we have 2. Lovely. Okay.
Just to relate back to the earlier slide on developer relations.
Yep.
And Copilot.
Yes.
And so in the slide for developer relations, there was the bullet point about expectations from the leadership.
Yes.
So with Copilot, are we setting ourselves a very high benchmark on to meet the expectations from the leadership? So because you just shared, we can roll out that app in 14 minutes.
Yep.
So that's my question. Are we actually putting ourselves in a time farm?
I think not. No, I don't think so. I think there's still expectations to be held from any developer. I think as a leader, you would be able to spot a developer who is new versus a developer who is experienced. Therefore, I think the same expectations still apply. I just think the benchmarks for your sprints might change a little bit. So the deliverables and the velocity of what you're delivering code at, I think may end up being a bit quicker, or the expectations should be quicker if you're using those sort of toolings. After all, this is the purpose of dev tooling, right? It's to make it frictionless, easier, quicker, and automated, right? So naturally, you'd think quicker, more deliverables in a sprint, right? So no, I don't think we're setting more benchmarks for people. I just think that's more around your processes. But I think on the flip side of that, you still need to look at things like security. So I haven't really touched on security today, but security best practices is always going to be at the frontmost of any developer, or the frontmost of any company, should I say. So no, I don't think the expectations will change. I just think the way that we're getting there is a little bit different overall. It used to say that, I mean, Copilot doesn't always give you the right answer, it can sometimes create a spin for me. It can actually give me the wrong answer and send me down the wrong tail. But that's the beauty of AI, right? It's not a person. It's just using mathematics. It's just using what it's using to give you an educated response based on what you're giving it with context, right? So no, I think it can sort of waver both ways. But personally, no. Professionally, I think, yeah, there might be a benchmark change. There's one more.
Hi, I'm Jerry. Yeah, thanks for the great sharing earlier. So basically, I just have one question. So currently, I'm wondering like, what's the Microsoft recommendation? I mean, toward the platform team, especially since this AZD is coming out, because I think platform team currently they are get used to PowerShell. So I'm wondering, is it moving forward for platform team? Is it should we shift to AZD? Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think there should be any shift necessary. I think AZD is another tool in the box, right, for you to be able to use to deploy your applications. Now, if you're using PowerShell, it's the same thing, right? So it's still applicable across the repo. So if you go to install AZD, you can still see the different install options that you have there. Now, yeah, I think in answer to your question, like there isn't an expected shift. It's more of this is just another tool in your arsenal to use to deploy your infrastructure quicker, more frictionless, and help developers, whether you're like a new developer, whether you're an experienced developer, whether you're just a team or a startup looking to just get going. And like I said, like different use cases. So no, I don't think there's an expected shift, just another tool for you to use.
Just one quick question. So you used to work as a software developer, and then you transitioned into dev relations. So why did you make that transition? And can you tell us a bit about your journey?
100%. Yes. So I actually started as a software developer at IBM as a fresh graduate in 2018. So however long that was now, 6 years ago. Now, I was a software developer, like a software engineer pure for about 2 years. I then just really couldn't hack sitting at a desk 9 to 5, really hated that one. I love coding. There was nothing to do with the code. It was more of the routine and being stuck in that sort of routine at that time and that age. I wasn't very happy with it. So I was like, how do I get out of this? How do I travel the world? How do I go see people in community and mix with others in the sort of in the wider world, which doesn't just result in me coming to work at sort of 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 5 p.m., having my dinner, going to the gym and going to bed and rinse and repeat 5 days a week. So I joined a hackathon. Now, a hackathon, we run Imagine Cup at Microsoft, which I'm not sure if you've seen. Some fantastic things that have come out of that one, some brilliant projects. I worked with some of the fantastic teams. One of the teams I was mentoring was JRE. They had a really cool solution. They're actually in the finals. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but it was really, really awesome to see what they're coming through and so the different areas of the world that they were touching on. So JRE, for example, was touching on like the reduction of slag with the steel industry. Not something I have ever had experience in or thought about, but how AI can help reduce sort of the waste in the steel industry. You got the global warming, you got the green efficiencies, you then got obviously money and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I digress. Imagine Cup at IBM, I was working with I think it's called IBM Core for Code. So I had a project, IBM Core for Code, which was around helping loved ones find missing loved ones after a natural disaster had happened using facial recognition and AI with IBM Watson. Cool project. We got to the global finals. We didn't win, unfortunately. But yeah, and it's like the advocacy team spotted me and were like, hey, do you like public speaking? Do you like standing on stage and sort of developing part-time? Absolutely. Give me the corporate card and let me travel. That was basically the attitude at the time. Unfortunately, then COVID hit, so it was all the virtual stuff. So it kind of like a bit annoying at that time. And then during the pandemic, IBM was more taking a shift more towards businesses as opposed to individual developers at the time, which was just their business direction naturally. So I made a switch to Microsoft, and I love the stack that we have in Microsoft because it's easy to advocate for a tool set where you can code in a Microsoft product in Visual Studio. You can deploy to GitHub, which is part of Microsoft, partners with Microsoft, and then you can deploy to Azure, which is again a Microsoft cloud. So it's easy to advocate and work and do demos like this because I know 9 times out of 10 they're going to work, and it's a seamless and easy way for me to actually work with other developers who use the same tooling. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today, but it doesn't mean that I'm not a software engineer. I love writing code. I just do it sporadically and a little less often than every day. But to be able to be an advocate and talk to developers, you have to have the empathy and be able to understand your problems. Otherwise, I'm just preaching and being like, maybe you have this problem, maybe you don't, and then picking and choosing. Absolutely not. So no, I keep 100% hands-on with the product teams. So I work directly with those, with the Visual Studio, sorry, not Visual Studio, the AZD and the Azure CLI and the GitHub CLI. So I deliberately work with these three product teams, not just because they're different languages, because the GitHub CLI is written in Golang, the Azure CLI is written in Python, and the Azure Developer CLI is written in Golang. I'm a Go developer, and I was just in it from right from the beginning, where I was like, hey, just naturally transitioning to Go projects. Just because we don't necessarily 100% support Go doesn't mean we don't write our products in Go. So yeah, that was kind of my journey through to where I am today. I'm only in Malaysia because I'm on a personal holiday and a workation. Got a bit tired of London and the rubbish weather there, so I was like, I'm just going to go to Southeast Asia. It's always nice and warm and tropical and lovely, and meet the community. And whilst I'm working, it just made sense to come and see you all and see what's popping over here and what kind of products you're working with and what the attitude is towards some of the projects that I work with. Because I think more awareness and understanding is just better for everyone. So, no, massive thank you for coming out on a Saturday. It's brilliant to see you all here. We certainly wouldn't get this sort of reception on a Saturday in London, that's for sure. That wouldn't happen. But no, massive thank you.
Any more questions? All right.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone.
MVP for about 16 years. He is Chief Technology Officer at
Hi. Just
I need to do a lot of demo using my hand. I don't think I want to use the mic. Can you hear me at the back? Fine, right? Okay. So I think some of the faces I've seen, some of the faces I've never seen before, right? So there's an echo somewhere. Maybe I think it could be, yeah, there's an echo. Anyway, there's an echo somewhere, right? Yeah, I think my microphone is mute. If I mute this one, that maybe I on my microphone. Yeah, then it's so bad. Yeah, I think that will be no problem. Okay, so let me go to okay. So I think everyone is here for very exciting to know it's Copilot, right? And I actually show you how many of you actually using Visual Studio Code in this room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So okay, so then you might something you are familiar that so how many of you using Visual Studio 2022? 1, 2, 3, the same cloud again. So, okay. So so I see about more than half they don't use it, then it's good. Good that you are here because you never used that before. Okay. Can I? Okay. Let me share my screen. Sorry. So this Christian. Okay. On that screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? I'll say entire screen. I'll say screen. Yeah. Okay. So okay, I think you can see my screen right now. All right. So so okay. So I think that is my introduction. So what I'm going to bring you is that okay. So what is GitHub Copilot? I think get it from GitHub Copilot. Everyone heard of AI, blah blah blah. Okay, I was just going to show you how it works. Okay, I'm just going to show you how it works. So the agenda today, just a very short, a lot of demo, right? The last one is the more interesting one, is the Pullman solution, right? Why Pullman solution? Because the rest I'm going to show you is not free, right? So if you don't ready, your parents, if you are a student, if really your parents don't want to give you money, your company don't want to use GitHub more pilot to pay for it, then I give you a last solution, right? This is the Pullman solution, right? So, okay, let me just go directly to a demo before I could show you all the slides, right? So when you started with Visual Studio Code, right? How do you start Visual Studio Code, right? I'll just say search. Okay, you have to download the code, then you just have to type code dot, but you have to create a folder, right? To use Visual Studio Code, you need to pretty something you need, right? It's more than other people. It's people like the Penguin, huh? There's a lot of Windows, another kind called Penguin. The Penguin is called Linux. Okay. So if people like the Penguin, then you have a lot of things called command line. Right. So if you use GitHub code if you use a Visual Studio Code, you need to sometime interact with the command line. Right. And the thing is that if you use Visual Studio 2022, right? If you want to do a free version, but if you are in the business, please buy the professional or the enterprise. Okay. If you are using for learning and so on, you can use a community version. Of course, a lot of people, company also they use community version because it's free. Okay, community version, then you will not have the code analyzer and so on. Like our friend there, I heard the answer is that I want to review my code. I want to see the recommendation from my code. Community version, you don't have that feature. That feature only available in if you want to have a code analysis and so on, I believe that feature is only on the professional. If you want the architecture, you draw out a diagram for you for all your DLL, that is only in the enterprise version of Visual Studio, right? So if you want to do all that what you are mentioning, you need the enterprise version of Visual Studio, right? The rest of the version can't do that. Okay, so you can actually drill down from where one DLL, how you link to another DLL, you can actually click that DLL, you will actually open the code for you. Of course, today I won't demo that to you. I demoed that back in 2010 Visual Studio when I doing the launch for Visual Studio 2010. Right? It is, I don't know, more than 10 years ago. Right? So yeah, I've been as a Microsoft MVP for 16 years, and I've been I launched Visual Studios in 2005 till today. 2005, I don't know where are you. You might be a student. Okay, so today I still love Visual Studio, and I somehow have to love Visual Studio Code because a lot of Mac people, a lot of Penguin people, like the Apple people, they like they had to use that, right? They don't already have a Visual Studio for the Apple guy, right? Right, and then they don't have really have a Visual Studio for the Penguin guy, but the Visual Studio Code work for the Penguin and the Apple. So I was saying, okay, now, so what I'm going to do is I'll show you. Okay, when you start Visual Studio is as such, right? Oh, where is my? Okay, there. Okay, so you have to come to the extension, right? So you will see what extension you have installed. Hopefully. Okay, I have a problem that again, live demo is always this problem. Okay, so you have to go to the extension, right? If this thing, again, I'm going to switch. I also has a plan B and so on. Plan A, maybe I don't know why hang. Maybe too heavy. Okay, it's not really hang, so it's just slow, I guess, because I open too many things. Okay, so unfortunately, this VM I'm running on my I'll have to reopen. Right? No response. No. I yeah, this is a live demo. The problem with live demo. Okay, so let me just try again. Okay, I'll click again. Okay, I think I need to close it and reopen it. Yeah, you will reopen. Okay, so you can see that Visual Studio Code, you will have this kind of problem actually. Right? If you are in a slightly slower machine, you will have that problem. Okay, anyway. So I'll let it run. I don't know. That I think give me some trouble. Okay. Anyway, so I already let me go to plan B first, right? Plan B is that I don't care about Visual Studio. I let it run code. I go to Visual Studio. Hopefully, Visual Studio don't give me a problem, right? Okay. So Visual Studio when you start, you can see that actually I've done a lot of. I start a new project. Okay. I will show you how I install the Copilot in the Visual Studio, right? Visual Studio, you see something like this, right? I want to start with C# instead of C++. I will show you C++ as well. If you are a student, you want to learn C++. Visual Studio, the GitHub Copilot work for any language inside Visual Studio. If you want a Python, you put a Python inside it, it work for Python. Visual Studio Code, GitHub Copilot work for Python also in Visual Studio Code, right? But I guess I have time to show you so many things. So, okay, I say next. Hopefully, I should change it to this why I'm a poor guy, right? I'm running the VM in HDD, right? So it's a bit slow, but normally it's not that slow. I think I want to do that. Okay, never mind. Okay, let me go back to you can see me switching here and there. You might hate me. Okay, now ignore the thing. So that's why I switch. You have to bear with me and forgive me for switching because once it's stuck, I will change. So you wouldn't say you have to wait. You see? Now, so you go to say extension. This is what I have installed, right? It actually when you come, you just started the Visual Studio Code. Here, nothing installed. So don't see people that open Visual Studio Code, everything is running. You thought that I download and install Visual Studio Code. Oh, everything will be working, right? So there's no such thing that everything will be working. You have to put in all the extension for it to work. And you have to put in the right extension for it to work, right? So in order to install the extension, you actually come to the extension icon, right? So you can see what is the extension that I'm actually putting it there, right? So then you will see that, oh, I have an auto-complete with the code. When I type something, you auto-complete for me. I can talk with GitHub Copilot, right? Because I actually, when you can type in GitHub, don't hang. Okay, so you can type GitHub, right? So you actually come up, right? You can see that this one I already installed, right? These two I already installed. If you have not installed, then you have something blue like here. Then you can install, right? You have GitHub code space. Remember, Liam was saying GitHub code space. I didn't use that, but you want to use that, you can actually install a GitHub code space, right? This is how you get started, right? So you don't think that okay, once I download Visual Studio Code, I start Visual Studio Code, you run. No, it never run. You can't even run C#. Okay, even run C# also, you need to install all the extension, correct extension. Okay, so you will see that in order to just run C#, right? I do it run assembly. Anyway, so we forget about this one. You need the C# extension, you need the C# dev kit extension. Why you need the dev kit extension? Somebody, I don't have chocolate today, but somebody want to tell me why you need dev kit extension? There's a video on it in YouTube. Okay, with the C# dev kit, you can open a solution that you have created using Visual Studio. This is what people has been struggling with Visual Studio Code, right? Visual Studio Code in the past, sorry, it doesn't recognize your your C# project, VB project. It's living in another world, right? You are in Earth, they are in Mars, right? That's what I hate about it. Today, they come up with something that I like, which is a C# dev kit. That finally, you don't need to come out with what launch.json right? You used to, I think whoever using the earlier version of a Visual Studio Code, you need to know that now there's a task.json, launch.json, that kind of a thing. Even you do a very simple project, right? And then you feel that you are, wow, I'm a super coder because I need that. Sorry, I don't like that. I need to have a click a button and run. I don't want the JSON thing to configure. Okay, so I'm not a penguin guy, so I've been living Windows also. Okay, now, so after this, right? Okay, I will cross this guy again. Then how do you get? If you go into the folder, you can see empty, right? If I want to start with a C#, the very simple console project, right? What should I do, right? If I want to start a very simple, let me just cross this guy. You actually need to go back. I don't know how other way to start this. I would basically go back to here, a console that you like, right? I will type .NET. Okay. I will have, you can actually create API and so on. It's in my blog. Right? I'll show you where is my blog. If you want to do other project, but here I do a new console. I just want hello world. It's not so easy. So I can type this. Hopefully the Microsoft the network is fast enough. This one I will get directly, they will actually take all the necessary and create. This is a simple project for me. Right? It's just a hello world. Right? So okay. If this one I open the existing one, if it doesn't run. .NET. Oh, okay, sorry. So it will give me error later on, but you give me later on. It's saying that it's a bit slow the network. I hope I have the net. I think I have the network, or else I cannot see the extension just now. Okay, so I control C. Okay, so I just saying that console is a bit slow also now. For the old uncle like me, it's a bit slow also. The screen. Okay. Okay, I think it will take some time. Okay, to go to the internet. That's why you have an internet problem, right? You need to go to the internet and get thing. That is the thing, right? So I hope this guy is okay now. See, I go back to the Visual Studio, right? So you have a plan B, right? So now, remember, create a new project C# in Visual Studio, right? Forget about Visual Studio Code right now. Go to Visual Studio. So I want to just have a demo. You just get by default the console project. So I click my default C3. Should be fast, right? Because I don't need to go to internet and get things. Right? Sometimes, and then when I always talk to like to no, when I always talk to the way I talk to when whoever Microsoft that from the advanced country, UK, US, and so on come here, you have to remember that this is a developing country. We have to accept it. Our internet is only at such that speed. And some of the in the something called a Borneo Island. You don't know where is the Borneo Island, right? It's company called Sabah and Sarawak. Internet even have a problem. So how? So they have to actually cater for a little bit for a slower internet, right? Rather than right? Unless they want, everybody want to be Tenaga Nasional. You know what is Tenaga Nasional? Right? Tenaga Nasional is a local electric supply company, right? Meaning that you plug it in, you everything you go Asia, then it's fast because you use the Azure network. If you want to use your local telecom network or Maxis or Celcom DG, good luck lah. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so okay, so now I go to the next. Okay, I put in the name already. If you never see Visual Studio, this is a Visual Studio, right? It will take a while to start also, even the console project because it's a VM is slow. Okay, right? So why don't I do this? Why don't I do this? See, I don't really want to use my VM for Visual Studio. I use my VM for Visual Studio Code, and the Visual Studio in my host is supposed to be very fast, right? So let's try, right? Let's try to do it in my. Okay. Okay, this is another trick. Do you know what is this? Why this thing pop up? This will solve all your daily production problem. Do you know why this thing pop up? Because I'm setting my Visual Studio to run as administrator. There's a lot of problem, right? Who can say that when I want a Visual Studio, I have a laptop, I'm a developer, I don't need administrator, right? Or somebody don't know what is administrator right in your laptop, right? It's having a nightmare. If you don't run as administrator, I think some of you know, right? So that is why I'm running it. Okay, it's fast because it's a. You see, I have a lot of. You see, I've done a lot of thing for you to test. Okay, I start another time, right? So very fast. This one is supposed to be faster. It's a host machine. Hopefully it's faster. Yes, it's faster. Right? I try C++ for you also. Right? Same thing. I go next. Right? I go next. Okay. Then I don't have to wait. So painful. You see, I have the event. Right? So it's a 1 hour event, but I actually spend a lot of hours to play with this for you guys. Right? So which is true. Okay. Now, another thing is that in Visual Studio Code, okay, in Visual Studio Code, you always only have a latest. When I say .NET New, I check my time. When I say .NET New console, you always take the latest, which is .NET 8, right? .NET 8, right? If you want to have an earlier version of .NET, you have to go reverse to the earlier version of .NET. And in Visual Studio, you have something for you to choose. You see, you can actually choose from 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So that is something good about Visual Studio. You like it, right? I'm not here to promote Visual Studio, but Visual Studio is a more friendly tool because it's free. Community. I'm using community here. By the way, it's free. Yeah, this one is free, right? So, okay, I always don't want to use. Okay, this one you have to know. I actually click this, or else you actually put the one line of the code. Right? Today, if you know C#, C# don't have to have a void main. But anyway, I like the void main, right? So I'll put that in. Okay, now this one I also have a Visual Studio Copilot install, right? So I show you how to install in Visual Studio now. Just now you see how I install in Visual Studio Code, right? So now you will see how I install in Visual Studio, right? See Visual Studio, right? Hello world, right? It's okay. How to install your GitHub Copilot? You go to extension here. Especially in my blog, actually I have a video as well. You say manage extension, right? Or else you will say how am I going to get into GitHub Copilot, right? So here, right, GitHub, okay. Then you will actually come out with, see, I have a GitHub Copilot chat installed. Okay, GitHub Copilot so you want to have a more friendly name, GitHub Copilot. Okay, so you have a GitHub Copilot here, right? Chat and also GitHub Copilot completion. Where's my completion? Right? The GitHub Copilot completion is more beautiful, more friendly than your normal code completion. The IntelliSense, right? Completion. I don't know. It's supposed to be somewhere there. Nope. I don't know where is it going, but anyway. So this one I install. Okay, so now, whatever that I install, then you actually can see. But anyway, so that is what I try to check update and see there's nothing left. Okay, now, so this is how you install your GitHub Copilot now. Now you want to see GitHub Copilot in action, for example, you want to see now. I'm asked the GitHub Copilot to generate the code for me now. Okay, let me go back to I keep it a scenario, right? If I'm a developer, has this one done? Let me see. Okay, this one done, right? So if I'm a developer, I try to learn C#. I want to read a text file, right, into a list collection, string list, right? How long? Anybody remember on the spot how to do that on the spot? Anyone? Yes, no one, right? I want to challenge. I can straight away tell you the line, right? So okay, so what I'm going to do is that, okay, I don't like this as well. I click this guy. Hopefully, it's a bit slow here. Let me just close all the Visual Studio. I use that one I just want to use one Visual Studio. I don't want to have two. Okay. Now, If I come right here, it's supposed to have a light bulb for me to change this one back to the normal. It take a while, I think. When you want it to work, when I work at home, I don't know whether fast. So when I come here, maybe it take now. It could be some of the things that I'm running in my house. Okay, so hold on. Give me take a break, take a deep breath, and hopefully this guy will come out. If this guy too slow, so you can't actually work. Okay, okay. There are some error here. Okay, there are some always there's something here. Because it actually take time to load. Okay, if it loads some extension, it's not going to work. This one is fine, I think. I always see this error is fine. So I come back here. See this guy coming up, right? This guy, this one is the GitHub Copilot. Okay, so you can actually run generate code using GitHub Copilot, right? Ask the Copilot to generate that code. But before this, I want the auto completion thing, but it doesn't like not coming out. Okay, I just click the link. Okay, I don't like this format, right? So I see you come back here and click this guy. Hopefully you open the website for me. I see you open the website for me. You know what I'm going to do? Normally when I come back to here, right? There's a bulb. The bulb will actually ask me to change it back to the void main, the full structure of the code. Okay. I'm doing very fast. I just generate the code here, let you see how to generate the code here, generate the code in the Visual Studio, then I think I stopped one of the machine, right? Because I'm actually also running I want to actually demo. I don't think I have enough time to demo both SQL Server and MySQL for you, right? So I'm actually trying to stop one. I think it's not started yet, right? I try to stop one for you. So what I want to, the demo is going to do is that I'm going to ask, how many of you using MySQL? MySQL, no one. Okay. Okay, I'm going to ask Copilot to generate a code to read your MySQL as well, right? So yeah, so okay. So let's go back to here and go back to I just want to copy this guy, right? By right, you should have a bulb. As I said, sometimes it's not working, it's okay. So you always have a plan B. You must know the trick, right? So or else you will have a this why you see other people doing it very simple, right? So right. So this is what I want. Okay, now I want to say now see I put it here, right? Okay, I say you see write code to okay. I just want to say write a function to read a text file, right? So how I will come here once you have a GitHub Copilot installed, you come here, you should see that just now this guy. See? Now it came out, right? So that okay, now it actually came out. Okay, so now you click here, you say I ask the GitHub Copilot to generate the code for me, right? So now I'm going to type in this. I copy and paste, I already type. So I actually hit enter. Then GitHub Copilot is going to generate the code. See? It generated the code for me. See? This is how you see it actually generated the code, right? To read my okay, you can say I don't want, or you can say I accept the code. I actually say I want to accept the code. Okay. Then you will see that okay, this is a code that generated by your GitHub Copilot. Whether this thing is working or not, okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's say I have a file here. I have a file. I take a file. Okay, I take a file from. Okay, I have a data file here, right? Is it a data? No. I just simply create a data file, right? I want to put in CTEM. I just simply create a text file, right? Just want to create a text file and say a text file, right? Okay. Okay, a text file called data, right? And what is inside the text file? I just want it to be a very simple few line of data. Well, it take a while. Okay, on. It's a text, right? Okay, it's just a few line of code, right? I just open it. This one also the tools that you are very familiar. It's called Notepad. Okay, you see Notepad also start. I think it's because of the video thing. This when I at home I don't have the video. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so I have this, right? I just save the file, right? And I just want to say that I want to read from the file, all right? And also I want to print it out, right? See, you need to actually, you see, it doesn't print out, see? It doesn't print out. Okay, okay. Before that, I just want to make sure that it's actually working. Say /temp /data, right? It's generated. The code is generated, and just make sure that it works. Okay, in here I will say yeah. I want to say two slash, right? This is a problem with okay. I will just try to run it first and see whether it run. Okay, how do you run this guy? Right, you come to the debug. Okay, you just click run and debug. Okay, you should supposed to come out with here. See, you say C#. Okay, then you say the project. Okay, so now it's actually running. Oops, no, I think this one is fine. Yeah, Visual Studio Code will have all these funny thing come out, right? So you just hit this guy again. No, actually you're saying that you don't have a launch JSON. You shouldn't need the launch JSON, right? You shouldn't need the launch JSON. Something is not loaded. Okay, so something is not loaded correctly, right? So the actually meaning that your dev C# dev kit doesn't actually launch correctly. There's a problem with Visual Studio Code. If you all have running with a lot of Visual Studio Code, how many of you have this problem? See, so you know how whatever the problem I go into, somebody will hit it because this is a Visual Studio Code issue. So normally you close it and reopen. I guess so, right? So I close it and reopen, right? So then you will have the yeah. I just reopen this guy. Okay, I just reopen this guy, and you will have just type code. Okay, hopefully this time is okay, right? Okay, so now go back to the see whether here. Okay, here I can start. Now I write as the Visual Studio. After this is the last. This is a demo that I have one demo here, one demo there. Is have a C++ demo. I'll let you go. Let's see. I still have 10 minutes actually. I don't know whether I have enough to do that, but hopefully you'll learn something from here. All right. Okay. I go back to here. Right. So hopefully now this time is okay. So if I see everything is loaded, right? You see something is loading down here, it's still loading. So now I don't see any loading. I just run this again. Right? And hold on. You actually come pop up with the C#. Okay, you call out this one directly. If I click the run button now. Okay, hold on. Okay. You see here it's actually turning, right? The project is actually turning, right? Then it will have some extension issue. You have to look at all these. These are all you capture the error. Sorry, I shouldn't move around. So there is here is where you actually capture the error. Okay, so then you will have some error that to run. But anyway, you will actually run. Let me just try to click again because it's actually still loading the project, right? So when it's loading the project, I don't want to touch it first. Let you load the project, and this guy is still running. And I can ask, right? This guy is still running. It take a while to come out. Okay. Anyway, I will come out here and okay. Here, right? What you can do is that, okay, you can actually right click. How do you see? It's the same thing as your Visual. It's actually same thing as your Visual Studio Code, but this one you will be more funny. When you want to ask Copilot, you right click. You say ask Copilot. Okay, ask Copilot. Okay, so what I want to ask Copilot is that I want to say I want to write a function, right? it's an English, write a function to simple one, read all the data from actor table. You install my SQL very frequently, you know that there are few sample table. One sample table is a external table from what database? Scala database. Okay. Database, MySQL database. I put MySQL database. Okay, so whatever you ask the Visual Studio to generate, this is called what? Who know the name of this guy? Anyone? This thing. Yes. Prompt. Okay. That's why there's something called the prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? It's basically telling you to type a right thing inside that box. Okay. You type something that this guy don't understand. You cannot type your grandmother, sorry, You have to be precise. You see, I put okay, let's see, whether my language is clear or not, right? Whether I can do prompt or not, I just enter. Hit enter. You can see it's generating the code. Okay, generating the code. Okay. See, it's generating the code out. Right? You still have to wait. You wait for a while, you actually pop out and ask you to accept. Hello, hello. It's gone. I think things never happened to me before. I don't know why. It's missing. Okay, this is really the bug. Okay. Type it again. Cannot be. Say right. Actually, you can see it generated, okay? A function to read all data from the actor table. Okay, in actor table okay. Okay, never mind. Too wrong. Okay, from MySQL database, MySQL Scala database. Okay, like one more time. Okay, see whether this guy now actually come out. You actually ask me to accept or not accept. Just please don't disappear. Okay, let me scroll down and see. Yeah, I think it's a bit weird. It's still generating, I think. Yeah. Normally it will pop up like this. Actually, I captured the screen. Normally it will pop up like this. I have done everything. It will pop up like this for you to accept. This one, like this. Sorry. Yeah, you actually pop up like this for you to accept. Accept, right? But it doesn't actually seems like it will pop up that. Let's see. And scroll down. Okay. So insert to a new file or no, not insert to a new file, but preview. Now they need to click. Okay, this thing not happening. Okay, when before I update the Visual Studio just the night before, right? It could be because I updated the Visual Studio. You know what Microsoft like to do, right? They always like to change the way it works and never tell you. Alright, so that's the thing. So now you can see if the line is okay, then you can actually accept, right? You can actually accept it, okay? Right? So then you will have a problem, right? Though you don't know what is this MySQL is doing, okay? You don't know what MySQL is doing. You come out here, right? Then you will actually go to, right? You want to see what is the quick suggestion. Well, the quick suggestion, it takes so long, right? So you can click here. You will actually tell you that I want to install the NuGet package, right? That's what Visual Studio can do for you, right? You don't know. If you have if code generated, the library is not there, you can just come here and ask it to actually look for the package online, right? And install the latest version. So I just click this guy. You will actually go out to the internet to find whatever library that is missing for you. Okay? So this way you save a lot of your time, right? You don't have to go and right? You don't have to go to see. Okay, whether this piece of code working or not, I don't know, right? So I have to, because my server is running here. Server is running here, right? So I somehow need to go back, and then there's a connection string in it. There are two things, right? The code generated, unfortunately, is not from here. I don't know from here. It's time consuming. I copy this guy. It's generated. This one is generated from by. Okay, you see what is the problem? You see another problem, the Copilot GitHub problem. The real problem is that I asked it to generate a function, right? But it didn't. It put inside my main. Okay, so sometimes this will be the function. This will be the problem. So what the cheat that I do, the trick that I do, I put a function there first. Then only ask it to generate the code. Right? That's the thing that you can do. If you ask it to generate a function, sometimes it will not generate a function. Right? But in GitHub code, GitHub Visual Studio code, you see this guy just now, it actually generated a function for me. Right? It actually generated a function for me. Right? See whether now I click run, it run. I think it was running, right? On okay. Just let it run. I think it's running, this guy. Yep. Okay. So you can see that when I ask GitHub Copilot to generate a function, it doesn't generate a function. It put inside the main for me, right? So somehow that's fine, right? So you have to know. That's why it's not all the code generated out of the box straight away you can use, right? You can actually, I will put this as a main as well. I put it here because my MySQL server is here, right? So I put it here. This generated, I didn't touch it at all. I didn't modify the code at all. I just copy and paste it back to here, right? Whether it's working or not. And then this guy also, I have to install the library, right? The MySQL library, right? So I paste it in here. Yeah, I paste it in here. Okay. I think it's almost done. It's almost 1 minute left. Give me another 5 minutes. This demo finish this demo and just I have more things to demo to you, but I think the time is it take a while as well. I think I have to see. Okay, so actually it's running. Okay, so this guy is running, right? This guy is running. It's slow but it's running. This code also generated. This code also generated. Okay, now. So this guy, what I have, I copy and paste already. You will turn out the red color because I don't have the MySQL client here. Then you will actually, I will just install and just take the connection string. I'll just run it. Okay, for you to see. All these things are generated from GitHub Copilot. Automatically, I never change any line of code as your eyes can see, right? If you run, it's just like that, right? You run. It should generate it and run. Even connect to a database, right? It just run, right? So what I need to get the thing correct is a connection string. That's the only thing I need, right? So let me go to get my connection string. I believe it's here. Before that, I think this guy I need to. I let it give it some time to digest, and I go and get my connection string. I have done a lot of sample for you in this machine. You can see in this machine, I have actually already created, right? This is the event. You see, I already created so many for you, right? So this is MySQL. You see, MySQL I also practice twice. That's why I have a connection string. Right? But I don't know why when maybe it's a video, it runs slower when I have when I'm doing live for you guys. But anyway, I just open this guy with the notepad. I just want the connection string, right? I have tried a lot of time at homes and working fine, fast, but come here slow, right? So this is the line I need, right? This is a standard password, right? This is the line I need. So notepad is still handy, right? So now you can see that now I want to install before that, let me just paste the connection string in before I get the library. Once I put the connection string in, I insert the library, I click run, I expect it return result, right? So that is, you see GitHub Copilot live. How many of you have used that actually? Do that. in your company production? No, right? Good. Good. So you can actually do that, right? So, okay, I click this guy. You actually load, same thing, right? You were in Visual Studio, you can actually click this guy and just install your package. But in Visual Studio Code, sorry, you cannot. You have to install something called new get package manager in your extension. I think you just now you see I have that, right? Then okay, so now I will say install this package, right? I go same thing as say install this package. If you install the package, go to internet, find the package. After you install the package, I just run this program. I run this code that generated by GitHub Copilot and see whether it fail, you success, right? Just let me make sure that my MySQL is up. Okay, the MySQL, yes, MySQL is actually running, right? That's why as a developer, even you have a Copilot and so on, you need something that you know, right? So now it's actually installing the package here is installing, right? If you want to see the output here, output window here, you can see it's actually installing, doing some job installing, right? So yeah, yeah, it's actually installing. You see, this guy is running, it's a bit slower, right? So that's why I said Visual Studio sometimes if you are using Windows, then it's still far more easy. Okay, so now it's time to see whether I fail, I pass, I run. Okay, I just run this guy. Whether you get back all this code generated, as you see by Copilot, I never change a single line of code. I just saying that read from MySQL. This is a database. This is a table, right? Now you see in action. Hopefully it works. Okay. And I can, when this guy is running, also I go back to here and see this guy is not okay. Now I want to print out. Okay, this is another case. This is all generated as well. Just like you can see, I'm reading a file into the string, right? Also never change the line of code except the path, right? Now I need to actually, because you can't see the thing coming back because I didn't print it out, so you didn't see, right? So let me see. Let me ask Copilot to write me another simple few line of more code, right? I asked the Copilot, right, to ask the Copilot to generate, okay, generate, now where is my Copilot? Hello, Copilot? Copilot is missing. It doesn't come out, right? So, on. It's slow lah. Okay. You basically you just have to print it out. I think it's easy way. I write, you see. When the Copilot cannot, here, you see, here got Copilot, this guy come out. There it doesn't come out, you see. So let me say, ask the Copilot to print the content, okay, of the line, right? Let's see. I just ask to print the content of the line. Ask Copilot to generate. I'm lazy to do console dot whatsoever. You see, it will actually come out one line for me, right? Copilot will just come out one line for me. I want to do that or not, right? Okay, this is the Visual Studio running. Okay, so I say accept. See, now if I run this one, you will see the text file actually print out, right? Read and print out. All this code I never write. The whole thing is all Copilot written for me. When I stand here and need to now, except the path, except the connection string, everything is written by the guy called GitHub Copilot. Okay, you see? Okay, this guy running, you can see that this guy is connecting to the database of Windows. I'm running concurrently in the machine, right? So this guy is actually running. Okay, I let you see. I move up here. Let you see. It actually take a while. Visual Studio Code is slower, by all means, right? Visual Studio is actually faster. Visual Studio, the tool loading is slower. See, this is the data, right? This is the data in my text file, right? So now you can see I actually generated the code using Copilot, change nothing to read the file from a text file and just to print it out, right? And everything is written by GitHub Copilot. Here is the same thing. Okay. I got the error, right? So I have a connection string, right? Maybe my connection string is not okay here. Connection string cannot be there. Okay, so okay, it's a connection string issue, right? I have to fix the connection string, right? And try again, right? And okay, let's run again. So even with GitHub Copilot, okay, there's something that hopefully that you'll bring away is that even with GitHub Copilot, you need to understand the code and you need to understand the error, right? It doesn't mean that okay, I generated everything for you. If you bump into the error, then you must know. Okay, this one is hold on, okay, it's running. Okay, so let's see. Okay, doesn't mean that once GitHub Copilot generated the code for you, then you can actually see now this is come back from my database, right? SQL database. Okay, so I guess that conclude my demo. I just go back to my slide. So you want to see now I demo two things for you. Okay, let me go back to my slide and close this up for you. Right, what you have seen is that okay. You want this the one more solution, the four-man solution that I've said there. You can see that just now all these things I've done. Sorry, you can see that all these things I've done just now, right? Your core extension, how I get into the how I get into the I don't know why I cannot continue on. Let me just all right, how I anyway I just don't want to present as a slide. I just make this one big. Okay. How I actually go through the okay, this is the last one. No, I think it's something wrong with. Well, I deleted everything accidentally. Sorry. I think I hit the delete. Okay, so now this is how I actually show you all the GitHub Copilot, right? How you actually install, how you actually generate the code. This is what your code you're seeing that I demo. The Visual Studio also you see my demo it, right? And also the autocomplete. Sometimes the autocomplete, if you are lucky, based on your luck, right? Because it's an AI. AI meaning that some chances is based on your luck. The auto completion will come up with the whole function for you. Based on what? Based on your function name. Based on the function name, your GitHub Copilot completion will complete the code for you. You don't even need to ask it to write. Okay? Yeah. So now you see all the tooling that is working. Right? So there's another thing, right? If you want to ask GitHub Copilot, you right click and say ask GitHub Copilot. You have seen I'm doing all this, and you see after that it's working as well, right? Where's my resources slide? Okay, there. That so from me. Okay, one more thing. Four-man solution, right? What is the four-man solution? If you don't really have anything, you say don't. I don't have a money. People don't want to pay me money to do. You can actually do this. Let me show you. Okay, you can actually do this, right? Let's say I want to have a function, right? What do you think I will do? Right. So the pro-man solution is actually the auto save. So the pro-man solution is actually come to this guy, right? Okay. Okay, come to the hold on. Before I come to this guy, Copilot, pro-man solution. You just have to put the same thing in and just enter. You will actually generate the code for you as well. But you need to copy and paste that. Right? It's not in the, it will take a while. It's not in the Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio Code itself. But you can actually pretty decent for you to copy and paste. Whatever that you see, it's actually the same. If you generate it here. Okay, this is the poor solution. If you no one want to fund you and you don't want to put your credit card to use GitHub Copilot, okay, you can do exactly the same thing. Okay, so you can see the code. This is a poor man's solution, right? So, okay. Before that, right, you all have seen what is imaging cup and so on, right? I don't know whether it's actually available in this region. It actually is available already. This is a judge portal. This is a judge portal. They open to junior, which is primary school student. instead of college student, I still have 15 to judge. For junior, I haven't judged. I've been start judging Imaging Cup since 2017, right? Judging Imaging Cup until today. So whoever that, if you are a student, you have a son that no junior, you can find out how to obtain a junior. Junior one is for the primary school, 13 to 18 years old. Actually, 18 years old, you don't call it primary school, but the team leader is the team member, it can be ranging from 8 years old to 15 years old. So if your son and so want to participate in Imaging Cup, is a very good incentive. The first prize for the college one, not for the junior. Junior, I don't know the price yet. The first prize for Imaging Cup is 300,000 USD. It's more than 1 million RM. Yeah. Yeah. So if you are in a college, then you can, you are already off the college. Sorry. But you cannot bribe me. I don't know who I will judge. Normally it's assigned by the Imaging Cup team. Now, but I've been a judge for so many years, so I'll just show you. I just coincident that judge for the junior is going to cross on the 29th. This way I can show you that this is a real portal that how are we going to judge the Imaging Cup participant. You can evaluate here, you can actually give mark. Because that is the thing. Yeah. I'm not going to show you how much I'm going to give. So I haven't looked at their content. So we'll look at the content and actually give them a judge the mark. Right? I've been doing that from 2017. 8 years. 8 years, yeah. Okay, so any questions for me? Sorry, the time is a little bit over. I think I have 15 minutes over. If you want to grab me, you can grab me anywhere. I receive around up to 12 something. Right? If you really want to grab me and talk about co-pilot tools, then yeah. Then you grab me, right? I leave it to your break. I think I don't know whether water is here already. You can give me the break. Maybe we take 5 or take 10. I let you leave it to them. Okay. So thank you very much.
1, 2, 3. I think the mic just nice, not a big crowd. Thank you everyone for coming on Saturdays, and as you read, I'm presenting on Saturday for a long time, right? The title that you present today is about tips and tricks for using Azure AI services. Specifically, the use case we do today, there will be the demos. The session should last about 45 minutes, and I'll leave it for Q&A. The demo will be presenting how to build your own corporate's co-pilot. You know, the hits was ever since Mr. Satya, the CEO of Microsoft, came to Malaysia, there always been 2 keywords surrounding the whole industry. Number 1, the word called AI. Number 2 is the word called co-pilots. So we're using co-pilots a lot, including that we use the ChatGPTs. We use a lot to assist our life for the last 12 months, or maybe more than that. We understand that a lot of the content from these providers are coming from what we call the World Wide Web. And have you ever think how can we build your own co-pilots running on your own corporate contents, running on your own content that you want it to be specific to your customers or even to your what we call the cloud. So today, the topic is about how can you build your own co-pilot with the live demos and some of the services. There's a lot of things happening, but I streamlined to 3 different demos from step 1 all the way to the last steps. And hopefully, if I got time, I'll publish the co-pilot that I built today into the World Wide Web, and then you guys can try it onto the phones. So hopefully I got enough time for that. My name is Walter. I'm based in Malaysia, based in Kuala Lumpur. Born and grew up in Kuala Lumpur for the last 40 years. That means I'm not a young man anymore. I'm the Microsoft MVP for Azure, for a company based in Malaysia called GainSight. Yep, that's what I am, right? So for information, today we got 3 speakers. We got Mr. Liam all the way from UK. Ming and myself are both MVPs based in Malaysia here. Any questions? If you're within our technical skill sets, our competency, we are more than happy to assist you guys. So my clicker is not working. Let me try.
Okay, the clicker is not working, so I need to press here.
I'm going through some of the fundamentals before we build our own co-pilots, or whatever we call it, or in the technical terms we call RAG, right? Which I'll talk more about it. The fundamental thing for today, what you can see today in the industry, the first thing you have to know is a keyword called LLM, large language model, right? So there's a lot of provider out there. So the common one from all we know is the GPT. The second one we have is from the Facebook, it's called AMA, right? These are all the large language models that you have to understand what you type inside in a very human way. As I tell people, the chatbot concept is not new in the industry, right? It's just that previously, without the LLM, the chatbot that you're getting is very robotic. I don't know how many of you actually tried before to go into Azure and try to book a ticket years ago. It's like a telephone. Press 1 to talk to someone, press 2 for what, press 3 for what. That chatbot experience has been there, but it's not as human as what we see. So with the LLM and ChatGPT moving into, the one you're getting today are very human. How many of you are using ChatGPT for your work today? So little? Come on, man. How many of you tried before actually the big version? Right? Some of you might have tried before. One of the reasons I want to give a comparison is, besides one is free, one had to pay, right? Is actually Bing have 3 versions of the content. It's called creative, balance, and precise. Yeah, if I don't remember. So they will give you a content based on certain context, and the answer you're getting, it can be very depending on what you asked. So what happened here is the fundamental about all this co-pilot thing is first you must have the LLM, right? Which you have to understand your English. You can do a text generation, translations. In fact, today a lot of things I no longer translate in the Google Translate because if you put articles, if you put characters or just a word, it actually a lot more better if it's short and available in the Google Translate. But if you want to do a paragraph, it's a lot more human readable in the ChatGPT kind of way, right? And also we can do a Q&A for our systems. So the next one I'll talk about is groundedness. This is a keyword that if we start to move the context into a co-pilot or ChatGPT type of things. What happened here is we need to set a context. In this term, it's called the groundedness. It's actually depending on what kind of thing that you are looking for. Without this one, it's very hard for the system to understand the English that you put in and what does it is looking for. So for examples, right, if you ask, what's the temperature for today? Right, the word itself, the temperatures, it means that how many Celsius, right? How many Fahrenheit, right? So, but if you talk about certain thing, well, 2 people is arguing, the temperature in this case means who is more angry, right? So that part are pretty important for you to understand. You need to set the context right? Because without ChatGPT, with the ChatGPT, the question you ask can be super generic. So one concept you have to understand is to understand the groundedness. Next, we want to talk about the ungrounded prompt and responses, right? Because if you don't do the groundedness, everything you ask are super generic, right? That's why today my topic is about how to build your own co-pilot, how to build your own content, and you can do a Q&A on top of it. It's actually from ungrounded thing, which you ask the World Wide Web, basically anything you have on the world, and it will just give you an answer, right? Because there's no specific context. But if you do a ground prompt and response, it will actually refer to certain data source that you mentioned, right? In this case, in my demo, it will be surrounding some of the sample data, the north wind, and blah, 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 okay? So next one I'll show to you is how to introduce you to Azure AI services, which is very important because these are the key services that fundamental supporting all these things, right? Because you can't build your own supercomputer today and just to do an AI and all these things, right? To rely on the services of the cloud. to have the processing power and all the GPU, the NPU, whatever PU they have to give you the kind of power. So for that, let me just go to, right. So once you come to the Microsoft Azure here, okay. Once you come to the Azure here, the first thing you have to search is, you can search for what we call the Azure AI services, right? This is the link that it gives you a bunch of the catalog of services with everything inside there, right? In this case, the first thing, that's a lot of things happening here, right? But the first thing you have to do in my demo is you have to zoom into the AI search, is what they needed, right? So you can just go to AI search and create. So what happened here is I created this one yesterday, but I will go through the flow with you because some of the processes will take maybe 20 minutes to get it done. So I can't do it live here, but to create this one is fine. Once you created this, it will ask you for different subscriptions. And in this case, I have a resource group of demos and I can give a name. So what happened here is, I cannot remember correctly. You won't get Azure AI services in all the data center, unlike your app services, your VM. You won't get everywhere. The closest that I remember in my mind is actually East Japan to Malaysia. That might be one data center, the nearest to our places. I recall they don't have it in the Singapore data center. So in this case, I will just search East Japan is, and then the pricing, we just go for standard. And once you go for scaling, these are the price are pretty much explained to you. The price is not cheap. You want to do AI, the price is not cheap. I have to be very honest to a lot of the projects that we do in Malaysia, this is the starting cost. Later when I show you more, you're going to get more and more because to have all these AI assistants, there's a lot of power has been involved and you need to do a lot of things. In this case, I only look for one search unit. It cost me about 1,004, right? And then of course, if you go to the CSP program, you get a Saudi discount, but there's a generic pricing, right? Once you've done everything, you just press next, next, next. Then you will just create what we call the Azure AI services for you. Okay. So once you created, I'm going to introduce you to something called Azure AI Studio. Right. The link itself is ai.azure.com. These are the two websites from the generic Azure websites. You will jump into what we call the AI Studio, and these are the two links you have to remember. Because once you go into the ai.azure.com, the whole layout are very, very different. As you can see from here, it's not your standard layout anymore. So these are the two places that you have to remember, and because later on, when we do a demo, we're surrounding the AI Studio because you already created the search services, which is required for later part of demos. So let me jump back to my presentations. We're going to talk about RAG. Okay, RAG is actually the new terms about this chat thing, right? The term itself is called RAG, and that is a technique to actually enrich the LLM. You understand the thing, and then you link them to a business data. It's very important. It's not necessarily business data. It's any data that you want to pump in to set the context by having a grounded content. If you don't want to do anything, I'll show you a demo later as well, that we can just ask any questions. I give you examples. Where to stay in Kuala Lumpur? For those of you who stay, we see some of the foreigner friends here. You choose that, they will tell you Cheras, Puchong, everywhere, right? It will tell you. But if I'm doing business, which the demo will show you, if I'm doing a hotel business, if you put there, where do you want to stay in KL? I will prompt you Four Seasons Hotel, Grand Millennium Hotel, ABC Hotel, blah, 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 right? So that is the same questions you ask with grounded and ungrounded content. So that thing is very important for everyone to understand the fundamental of it. And that's where the business and all the money is. If you can train your data based on your business needs, that is where the gold mine is. So in this case, we can build our RAG apps by having a specific data source that we pump into, right? And then we have a context-aware responses. So in order for all of us to implement these particular solutions, you want to build your own thing, I want to build my own thing, right? The most important, as we mentioned, is all the data, right? You have your own data. So the data we're currently supporting 3 very straightforward storage. Number 1 is Azure Block Storage, which equivalent to S3 in the AWS space, right? Everyone use Block for our unstructured contents, right? Or if for those of you who work on the data lake, you will know that this is your best friend. And of course, you have a lake storage for Gen 2. That's another storage. And third one is Microsoft OneLake, which I don't even touch before. As much as I know they supported it, I never use that. In my work, in my professional career, I use the first and second most, right? So the demo today will be using the Azure Block Storage. So we talk about data, then we talk about the search. The next thing you heard this thing called the vector search. And what exactly is a vector search? It's something that you read and you don't really understand the details of it until you go very deep inside. Basically, it's actually to retrieving the informations by understanding how relevant is the word that you put in English or in LLM to actually weight it. There's a statistic formulas applied with super complex. I'm not a data scientist, right? That they can weight how relevant is the specific keyword in English to the questions that you ask. One of the example that you see here is, I hope you guys can see, it's not too bad, right? Document A and document B, the left and right, the one in the blue and the one on the black. So the children play joyfully in the park. The next one, kids happily run around the playground. These two things sounds very, very similar in the actual meaning, right? If you take a look, very similar. So what I did is I copied the 2 sentences and I paste it at the bottom. You're going to understand because of the vector search technologies, the word children are very close to the word kids, correct? And if you look at the yellow color or orange color, joyfully and happily are very close. And lastly, the park and playground, almost the same. So these are the 3 keywords that based on vector search, they know they are very close to the meaning, right? Don't ask me how to do that. I only use the model. Don't ask me, okay? I'm not going to spend like how many years to do all these things, but I'm taking advantage of some people train the model, put into the vector search, and today come up with the thing. So the document 1, document 2 are very similar to one another. This is the power of what we call the LLM that understand the English, right? I haven't tried before that, put in a Malay word that's similar, right? It's just not my forte. But if you talk about English, I'm pretty sure this is what we get, right? So this is the vector search. Why? Because later when we build the ChatGPT apps, we used to use the word ChatGPT app, we build the RAG apps, right? The RAG apps. The vector search is very important to understand our keywords. When I do a search, it must be understand. So in this case, the next one we have to learn in the Microsoft Azure is 3 things. Number 1, you need to deploy a model. Number 2, you need to have a data, which talk about our own data. The last one is to have an index. For those of you who are working in search, not even search, right? Today, for those of you, and any of you working on databases, RDBMS, SQL servers, MySQL, Oracle, no one? Cannot be, right? So we always got a term we know it as the re-indexing. Why? So you can search the content a lot more faster after a period of time. The index technology has been there for ages, but what we try to do here is put the index or the faster search content into our context, so our app able to search the content a lot more faster. So I'm going to show you how we can do all these things in the AI Studio. So remember 3 things: deployment, data, and index. Right. Cool. So once you come to the AI studios, it's actually quite cluttered. You've got a lot of things like this. Usually what I did is I do not the thing very cluttered on my screen. If I try to collect all the main content, right, you're going to get down into what we call the playground, which I'll explain in a bit. We talk about the tools and we talk about the components. The deployment, the data, and the index are actually three things under the components. So if I expand it, you're going to see like data, deployments, and index, right? Not according to my structures, but this is what it is, right? And then we want to look at, we're not going to talk about the content filters. That is where like certain keywords you want to block it, certain thing you want to hide it, right? So you work on the content filter. As much as today demo, the content are very healthy, I'm not going to do any content filtering. So the first thing, we need to deploy what we call the model, right? So to create this one, it takes about maybe 2-3 minutes, but I pre-created this. In this case, I will need two types of things. Number one is GPT 3.5 Turbo and 16K. You might be wondering why, Walter, you are not using a GPT 4.0. Your share screen? It's right. Hold on for a moment. Can you see it? Well, hopefully they see it. So come back to my questions, right? Why am I not using ChatGPT? Why am I not using ChatGPT 4.0? Is the questions you might ask, right? Or the 4.0, the Omni version. Because it's cheaper to use this one for demo. That's the only answer I can tell you. I have to pay for my own. Of course, I get some sponsorship from Microsoft to do a demo. But today, we're going to look at the 3.5 Turbo 16K. And there is another one we call the ADA. So these are the two models that are available for you. Today, Microsoft and Microsoft Azure support a lot of the model for your reference. Some of my friends who into this line, they really like some of the other models, which I can share with you. You have DALL-E to create the pictures. You have the DaVinci, and then they have other things. If you scroll down, they have Mistral. You have a Llama from the Meta, right? And you have like all sort of things from different providers. Well, for those of you who are interested in some of these things, look at the V3. The 5.3 is there's a lot of news from the build in the last few days because there's a big developer conference in the Raymond, in the Seattle. They talk about this thing. To be fair, I'm not really the expert in here, as some of these things I don't even heard before, right? But you can try to play around with all the different models and optimize for your corporate use, right? OpenAI definitely is inside here, right? So yep, you got all these things you want, but in this case, for demo purpose, I already created one. Which is the 3.5 as well as this one. Basically, all you have to do just create one, and then you press confirm. Everything will be automatically churned out for you, and it will be based just like that. Very simple, right? So once you deploy the model, the next one you have to do is go to the data. So this is the part where we actually put in a lot of data for you. So the first demo that I want to talk about is I have a content about tourism. Remember I talked about the jokes or the scenario about where do you want to stay, right? So for the ease of the presentations, I pre-upload my content. So in this case, if you ask them, where do you want to stay in, actually I'm a US person. So where do you want to stay in San Francisco? I do have this content. Microsoft able to take in your content in a various form, including PDF. You upload your PDF, they will break it down, they will re-index for you. You don't have, of course, for proper system, we don't do that. We have to break our content into JSON, which is the later on the demo will present to you. And in this case, here, if I just ask them, where am I going to stay in the hotel? They will tell me San Francisco, I don't know, these two hotels. I haven't been there, too expensive. So this is just an example. What I want to do here is I can just come to my data here. I can create new data, and I can create a data source according to my requirements, right? In the actual AI, for today's presentations, there's no automations, but in the actual productions projects, you have to build automations. There's no one there to manually click the file, drop the file every day for you. No such thing. You need to build AI infrastructures to automate the thing. Like for example, if you have a sales data, every night you will crunch your data, you will auto put inside there, you will auto trigger the re-indexing and all these things that you've seen in a manual way today. Today, everything will be manual, but try to imagine the manual part become the automations. So in this case, I can just select that, hey, I just want to upload my own files, right? So I can just go to upload my own files, and you can just upload the files if you want. I can just drag all these things. Once you drag all these things and put into the files, you will get exactly like this. You have all my files has been parked here, right? So this one I did yesterday, I think. So I have all the files been drafted. So once you upload the files, it's not good enough. You have a data source, but your content is not optimized. It's not optimized in the sense that it's not searchable. So you have to pump the next step. Remember, deployment, the LLM, the model. Second, you get the data, which I show you here. And the third one, you have to put the data into the re-indexing. So in the index here, you will create all the index, but by the way, this one take a long time. Easily 20 minutes for 6 files. Easily. And then there's another one, take about half an hour, which I'll show you the next demo. When you press a new index, it will just ask you where's the data source. Because previously we dragged the files into the Azure AI Studio, right? It actually jumped down to here. This one. Data in AI Studio, right? Once you click on this, it will ask you which particular so-called the data source that you have. So in my case, I park it under the hotel, and then you can just go next. And here you can give a name. You can, in this case, I just put the ABC name, and then the source here. We remember just now the first step is to create the so-called the services, which is under here. This particular services. Once you create it, you will appear here. Make sure it's in the same data center. Don't do one in Singapore, another one do it at Japan. You won't see it appear. You will not see it appear. Don't make that mistake, right? So once you have it here, the next one you have to do is to ensure everything is okay, right? I have an embedded model. Remember just now I searched the 2 models that I have. So this one, the model that I have. And then if I press next, if I create, it will take about 20 minutes. If I create, it will take 30 minutes. So what I did is I pre-captured a screenshot for your reference. What it did is it will went through 3 stages. The one you see on the right side, it's a bit small. Yes. You will see something called cracking and chunking. This all done by Microsoft. You don't have to learn the algorithm how to do breaking and chunking, right? Let them do the job. Second, once they crack it out, they will do the next one, which is the Azure search index. Right, they start to take your content, they try to do this, they try to bring in the index, and once the index are all done, the last part is they will register the index for the using. That's all. Very, very straightforward type of process, but it takes a long time. This one, if you drag like just now 4 or 5 files, it will take about 20 minutes. If I show another JSON, it takes about half an hour. So it depends on what type of content inside there. And then because I previewed this, so it's fine. So once I got all those things, right, then my part is ready to do testing. As in, I got my content. The content has been ready for search. I got my LLM to understand all the English. The thing is, everything has been aligned. So what you can do here is the component part. You can do content filter if you want to, but we are not going to do that for now. So let's go to the collapse it, and we want to go to the project playground. And then they do have a chat here. Right? Just go to the chat. So you get your standard chat layout being published. as it is, right? No problems. So the questions we want to ask is, where to stay in San Francisco, right? So you tell me that, hey, you can stay in the Union Square, you can stay in the Fisherman Wharf, you can you can stay South of Market, Chinatown, blah, blah. These are ungrounded contexts. That means that it's a generic web context. You just the random things which you can do in Google, right? But now I'm a salesman who sells hotel. Okay, I wish I can so I can stand here and do presentations. So I'm going to put my content of what we did just now. I'm going to apply my data. And in this case, I will use the hotel index. And in this case, I will use the semantic keyword, the hybrid. So the hybrid I'm using here is the vector. You know the vector we talked about just now about the kids on the playground, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to use a vector and you can use the keywords. So this is what I'm going to use. And I believe I have to refresh this. So let's see my data. Is it attached? Oh, it's not attached. Hotel index. So this is good to go. Let's try. Where to stay in San Francisco? As you can see, the data now came out very different, specific to Lombard Hotel and the Wharf Hotel. Why? Because I do have a PDF that is here. As you can see from here. So I built my own copilot that is tied down to my own data, right? After you attach, because I do the index and I build all these things, it takes a while to process. But when I do questions, now from ungrounded chat, a prompt response to a grounded prompt response based on what I want you to see, right? So by that, I can bring my own corporate data into here. And of course, you can say that this one is include the continental breakfast. The other one is a free parking. So I can say the same thing, right? Where to stay in San Fran with free parking. And as you can see, there should be only one, rather than you have the Wharf Hotel which doesn't provide, but the Wharf Hotel provides the breakfast. Now you actually got the one that have a free parking. So the other part, I purposely use the word San Francisco. It's not San Francisco. It's because the vector search able to relate the San Fran with San Francisco. The part is, I haven't tried if I put the SF inside there, will it works or not? Because if you try to search, in the vector search, SF sometimes related to San Francisco. So these are all the things you have. Do you guys interested in this demo? Yes. Yeah. It's actually available in Microsoft.learn. The PDF is not done by me. It's by Microsoft. Go to Microsoft Learn, you will get the same content as I did. Now, I'm going to come in and do my own content for that. Remember, with the data we have, I do have two specific JSON. One of the JSON I have is, I have this thing called the customers, because tourism is okay, right? Now I have something called a customers data that available in JSON. Of course, I also dump into the vector search for all these things. And then I will tell you that I can search my customers from a Salt Lake City. So I can just come back to my data here and then just let me refresh. So the thing about this particular tools is a lot of time they don't allow to save. I have to add my own thing. So I can go to Northwind minimum index. So I can do the same thing, right? Tell me, based on the data I have here, customers from Utah. Oops, I think it didn't refresh this. Let me try it. Oops. Let me refresh this.
Oh, oh, the data is not refreshed. Just hold on for a moment. Ugh, let me try another one. California. Ah, the data is not there. Ugh. Let me try again to add the new data source. I hope it's working. So I have a different data source here. This is more complex. Sales order. With shipment. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay. I have two data sets. If you can see here that this is just this one. This just is customers, right? I only got a customers. This list already the index not doing that well here. I have a second one, which is more complex. You have customers, your employee, your shipments, your sales orders. So now we try to apply to real life scenarios where sales orders is our sales. You can just ask them. In the sales orders, there are how many actually shipping from the Brazil, right? And when I search the questions, it actually gives me the answers, like what you see here. Like these are the one is all from. I mean, if I search the 10290, right? Okay, I'm going to get the data from my JSON 10290. 10290. Somewhere here. Let me check. This one. I think this one. Yep. Entity ID 10290, as you can see from here, is actually ship country from Brazil. Yeah, sure.
Can you talk filter of the data? If let's say I want to don't let me know the flight. You see the flight, right? If I want to take out the flight.
Yep.
The freight, let's say the freight, I want to take out the freight number, can I do that? Because how to say that? Let's say I want to restrict some user to know all information. Let's say I'm the company owner.
True.
Some people like a different level of management.
Yep.
I want the filter to see the information. How can I do that?
Okay, there are two parts. The question is basically you want to do content filtering, right? The content filtering is not only applied for what we call business applications, right? It also apply for our normal social life, such as 18xx kind of contents, right? Or violent content, that kind of thing. So under Microsoft, if you see just now the menu on the left side, it does have this thing called the here. You can do the content filtering. However, because the data sources all come from the same, you have to do quite a bit of programming behind to check their user access role. It's your side.
Besides user access role, let's say it can be, let's say I can put this database to multiple companies.
Yeah, you can. You can. Like for example, right? You need to determine the data source. The data source, if you share that you want to share across 100 companies, if there are some sensitive data
that you want to show A but don't want to show B, you have to build in the policies. You can do certain things. Either if you still insist one data for all, then you cannot, because it's one data for all, right? So you have to build in the roles to filter certain things. It all depending on you.
So Microsoft right?
It's not the features that Microsoft don't provide. It's you have to take advantage of the content filtering module they have and work around. Yes, you have to write something to work around. Because it's a scenario if you do a content filtering, right? Okay, so this is what you get. But one of the part that really interesting here is they do have something called a reference. So it will tell you that the data actually come from where. It's not that just come out from. If you do ungrounded, right? You search where to stay in San Francisco, it will tell you a fisherman wharf. The content can just generic from books, from internet, from newspaper, from everything. But most of the data, if you put grounded, it's recommended to have a source of link. It comes from where. So this is what it is, right? Another part is slightly improvement from the last year is we can ask them. So this is my. One of the things I showed you here is last year, the LLM model having issues. You know, LLM, what is that for, right? Large language model. You're not supposed to do calculation. Only do language. That's why I call language. But the newest model today supports slightly better. At least you ask him to do a calculation, he will able to give you. Previously, it's very challenging. The model just don't know how to count. It sounds simple, right? Just counting how people can be. But last year we have this issue. But now the thing is a lot more better that it will tell you the sales order in 12 now. Right? So these are just samples, right? To give you can bring your own data. But you have to learn how to build a data in a more effective way that allow the RAG app to understand. So you can get something like this. Okay, so cool. I think I show you a lot of things. I just want to go through the last steps. About the 3 things, remember, deployment, the language models, put in your data, apply the index to your data, right? And then the next one we want to do here is talk about prompt flow. Prompt flow is exactly what's happening just now when I type the questions. There's a lot of things happening behind the scene before you can get the result you want. Okay, so the prompt flow is just an existing framework that available that you can choose what prompt flow you want, and I'll show you in a bit. And the only part here of prompt flow is you have a lot of things coming down, and then you have different scenarios, and then it will give you the output, right? Just like the if else, right? But on the right side, you're going to see that certain specific, before they gen the content, we want it to take out from our own data, which is what I showed just now. I showed technically 2 things. Number 1 is the on the hotel based on the brochures. Number 2 is actually based on the sales data that we have, right? So this is exactly one of the prompt flow about the multi-questionnaires that you are getting, right? Starting from the top, you're going to see the inputs, and then you will modify the query with history. Why? Because when you do prompt and response, you ask the first questions, then you ask the second questions, third questions, and fourth questions. The questions are related based on the history. The second question you ask, they will remember the context of the first questions. The third question you ask, you will remember the second questions that you ask. So there's a context. That's why you do Q&A. I still remember, I don't know how many, when ChatGPT just came to the industry, I have exactly the experience I had many, many years ago when I used Google. It's a rabbit hole, you keep asking questions. You get into the content that you're looking for. The best part is you will understand what you are searching. You just go all the way down until they tell you. I still remember when it started launch, you can only ask like 12 to 30 questions, right? Based on the token that you have. So it all have to be modified, the query based on the history. The second, you can go back for content, which our data in this case, right? And then you go to the prompt context. This is where the superpower of Python comes in. Python have a lot of AI models that is not AI, but for machine learning that pre-built. You just have to drag and drop. You got this, and you got the prompt variants, and then you will kind of like generate the context with the chat you have, and then lastly you do the output. These things is just a step by step what's happening behind the scene. So because you guys are part of the software engineering, so you guys are looking into this, you guys can exactly do the same thing from here. So you don't have to go to the playground, you go to the tools. There's something called the prompt flow. Under the prompt flow, I created a few, but if you create a new one, this is what I'm going to show you. You go to select the multi-round Q&A on your own data. Right? You click on the first one, you can do a clone. So you basically copy and paste the whole template out, exactly what you see in there. And from here, it's very, very cluttered again. I'll recommend people who come to this, just collapse everything. I'll explain to you why I'm collapsing everything for the ease of explanations. Cool. And then can you see, I want to drag this one a bit. Okay. The right, put it the right, put the left, the right, then you reach here and you reach here. So are we clear with the flowcharts? Exactly the one I showed you, right? So let's zoom in here. You have the input from the top there, and then you're going to modify the query history, the lookup, the generate. Every single one of these boxes, right? Every single one of these boxes, you click, is represent one of the box on the left here for configuration. If you click on modify query with histories, you come into here, as you can see. And then what I can do here is I can just come to connections and connect to the AI services connection I have. And the deployment name, I can use the 3.5 Turbo 16K, the one I created in the very first place under here. Remember the deployments? It will appear here. And then the response format, I want it to be in a text, right? That's how you keep doing the configurations required. This place, you actually do minimum configurations, minimum, because the template has been preset for you based on what you have been configured. And whatever demo I do just now is a standard template to today standards. It's just standard templates. After you key in everything, and again, if you want to do, if you really want to understand the more different thing, you can click on this one. It will bring you to the more complex thing about how the zeros and blah, 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 right? But today, I'm not going to touch very deeply into here. And here, see, you just configure the index and you just have to compute the sessions and blah, 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 blah. You are ready to deploy the whole model into the internet. Let me use one of the models that are pre-configured. Let's run the power. As you can see from here, compute session starting. So once you configure everything, you try to do the validation checkings. Once all is okay, I can actually do evaluations and deploy the thing to the cloud. Then you will take a while. Okay, still running. Basically, there's a screen I'm not able to show you. Once this thing is done, then I can show you. It's actually how much you can deploy to the cloud and what kind of VM is required, because you need to have the processing powers. They will calculate and give you the thing. Now I press deploy. You will tell me that the thing is ready for deployment. You're ready to deploy to existing endpoint. And this is the server is required. And I don't know how much you can count, right? 12 cents per hour, you times 24, you times 31 days, you'll get your actual pricing about how much the VM will cost you, because they will deploy all the models that you've been configured just now on the prompt flow to them. One last demo I want to show you before I end the presentations is actually coming to my playground here, and I have a chat. And let's use back my sample data let me bring my data, and then I want to use for hotel index. And then let's ask the question again. So whether C is connecting. So now it's connecting to my hotel data. I can deploy the thing to the web app. Let's pray this one can deploy within a few minutes. And then I can share the actual URL. And then you guys can try it onto your phone. Is it running? Done? Deploying. Well, while waiting, I want to take some questions. Any questions? Yeah, sure. Because if you do the AI search, it go by bulk, as in how you calculate the search. So according to them, also not very detailed in terms of pricing, because one of the most complex thing in the world is Microsoft pricing. So the services, the way how they calculate, it way by the unit of the measurement. The details one, when you chunk the thing into search, they actually go by that. There's one more thing I'm not able to show you.
How about is it searching on our own database?
You cannot search on your own database.
Sorry.
What? You cannot search on your database. Remember just now the one slide I showed you require 3 sources? You have to be based on that source. You cannot base on your databases. No, it's not.
So they will complete
You have to do the thing. That's why. Remember I showed the JSON file? You have to export into JSON file. Let the indexing crunch the thing. Then only you can search. You cannot connect to your SQL Server or SQL Express. Yep. Yep. Then you can search. So there are 2 charges. One is because of the AI search to help you do indexing, help you do a vector search. That's one part. Another one is a token. Maybe I'll show you this one. I'll let this guy run by itself. I want to show you this one. When you create a new model, let's say I want to create a GPT 4.0. So the deployment name is all the same until you see one part. If you want to use this model, you see, I don't have this. I'm trying to GPT 3 lah. Why you keep telling me I don't have this model? Let's try .e. For some reasons, 4. Okay, I'm not sure what's wrong with my thing. I cannot provision a new one. But what happened here is this another part, the cost will tell you how much you want for your token. It's actually down there, right? Even usually this demo only put that 5K. That means about 30 tokens for a minute. How much does it cost? I don't have a details breakdown because some of our corporate customers is very high. But you're going to get what they want. We spend about a few months to optimize the data to get what they think is close enough. By the way, the AI journey is not like today you do, tomorrow you use. It's not your point of sales, it's not your ERP. You need time to refine your data, right? Let's see my data. Is it done? It's still deploying. Let's wait. Any other questions? I'll take 1 or 2 more questions while waiting for this to run. Yeah, sir.
Okay, so I'm from the cybersecurity background. Okay, so recently, so for my, currently I'm a student. Okay, so I'm doing some research to develop a AI firewall. In the market, they already got it, but still it's not famous. So I would like to uh, fulfill the gap of the AI that already got in market. So based on this Azure AI Studio, so is there have any possible that I could create AI firewall with the technical terms? Just now you show just now you upload the PDF like that, right? Because it's considered machine learning. So after that, it's patternized because it's a deep learning everything, right? So how I can create that kind of AI using the Azure AI Studio, sir?
Okay. First of all, it's very initiative of your student come on Saturday to attend this kind of thing. I appreciate that. Maybe we have to go back to the fundamental of AI, machine learning, and all these things. If you try to ask, I mean, let me tell a story before I go and answer questions. What is the earliest AI thing we use in our daily life? Have you ever asked this question before? If you try to track back the earliest AI thing, at least from my understanding, is actually OCR, optical character recognitions. Or some places, for those of you who old enough, remember we bank in our check. They can able to read the check numbers. That's AI, right? Just for fundamental, I come back to the story. None of us can do AI by itself because you need supercomputers, right? What we try to do here is we take advantage of the model that come out from machine learning. The machine learning take advantage of AI. That's the chain. Today, as your questions, can you build a firewall by using this one? The first question you should ask is, do they provide a model? That's why it's called LLM, large language model. Do you get a model specific to your needs, which is cybersecurity? Right? That's the questions, right? If you can do, if the model available to you, then you're good to go. Second questions. The model has been available for many type of business. Like for example, before we have this ChatGPT things to disrupt the way how people works, we do use a regression model for sales data. In my work, I serve quite a bit of retail customers. Those data have to use the model specific using regression, right? So come back to your questions. I don't know whether inside AI Studio they do have that or not. So if you have, you can build your own on top of that. But from what I seen quite a number of demos on how AI been applied to cybersecurity on firewalls. Is they detect the vulnerable or the pattern of how does it show that, which is a different story by itself. Because if you talk about cybersecurity, it's not only the layer 7, you got layer 6. If you come down, if you read the news on cybersecurity about a few weeks back, they realized the root server cert of category C might have some desync. So if people found out the thing has been something wrong, the whole world will be chaotic because worldwide only got 7, the root certs on our server. C1 apparently they found accidentally, the timing is not sync. So these are just some of the things happening. Any other questions? I'm trying to put this thing through page C1.
Yeah, Walter, I've got a question about the adoption of AI in the Malaysian market. Are you seeing a lot of businesses in Malaysia being very interested in AI, in infusing AI in their business operations, in their solutions? And also, like what sort of challenges do you think we face in the Malaysian market when it comes to adoption of AI?
Good questions. So I was talking to a lot of people recently, especially on AI.
especially when the Microsoft CEO, Mr. Satya, came to Malaysia and disrupted the whole market AI, the keyword that you always buzz from all the CEO, CIO is about two things. Copilot, the word, and itself is the AI. The question is a lot of organizations are interested to embark on the journey? I tell you, yes. But it's just a high-level term that when they pass down to the working level, like CIO, they might struggle to get a use case. That's what I see when I talk to the people, right? AI today are facilitating your operations, right? They are not yet up to a point where help you do everything, right? Like for example, if you go to an EV, you go to Tesla, they have autopilot. They drive for you, but they cannot drive like end to end for you, like just like that, right? So it's helping you to drive, but they're not drive for you. So the part where people a bit confused part about AI here is there's a lot of interest, but a lot of people having struggle getting from the idea and materialize. Why today my presentation is show you step by step and show you click by click. I can just open a video and just do all these things, right? It's because I want to show you guys through today how you can bring your own data into the AI, and from there you guys go and think what kind of use case that you can churn out from your customers or even your organizations, right? The challenges you always face is like, it's a gap. It's a gap. You know you want to reach there, but you don't know how to get there. And the problem with the AI is always been this problem. Oh, sorry, I haven't enabled the permissions. To log into here, you must have my account, which I can't give you. But by the way, I published the whole chat thing into here. But if you scan the QR codes, it will ask you for login based on my account, so you can't. I can ask the same questions. Yeah. But because I used the features and I didn't disable the security, what happened here is if you scan this QR, it will ask you for my company login using the Entra. As you can see from here, where do you want to stay in London? It gives you 3 hotels. Let me open the PDF of London. I do believe it's Buckingham, the City, and the Kensington. Is it? Yeah. It's the hometown of EM, right? In London. Cool. So you can have this kind of thing. And the reason why I have this is because this will help you to build a POC very fast and you can present to your boss based on your data. You don't have to spend like, I know you guys have a very good front-end developers who can do React, but you might take the 10 days to build everything up. This one, you press a button, half an hour, is up there to present to your boss, right? Any questions?
I just a question on the kind of business use cases you're seeing your customers implement. Can you give some examples of the use cases and specific technologies that they're using in the Microsoft stack?
Okay, so basically today, if we do the RAG apps, RAG apps, it's it's end-to-end Microsoft stacks, including we had to build the automations, right, to extract data from SQL servers and to pump them. One of the easiest way that we implement is we shock all our customers is we take their employee handbook, which is this thick, dump inside there. They can just ask the questions about the employee handbook. That is one of the earliest thing I did last year for the business perspective. You know, your company had the employee handbooks, operation handbook. I even did a POC with one IT department. I think some of their on-prem servers, they still left field, and some we know things. They're able to dump the PDF. They dump the whole PDF inside there, crunch it, and then they can even search how to shut down the server and that kind of thing, right? Because these are not just a normal servers. There's some hardware thing which I don't know how it works. But we tried a POC with the customers. They're shocked. You can just ask any questions, right? So that is some of the use case. Of course, statistics-wise, it's quite mature. You can take advantage of statistic data if you want to. Hope I answered the questions. Anyway, by that, thank you very much for your time and Aspen Saturday. Thanks to Lian to come to Malaysia. I hope he enjoyed a lot. And thank you very much. Have a good day.